Welcome to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 81 Star Saint. 2/7. The Central Magic Empire, the Council of Representatives. The council composed of 12 Star Saint-level magicians is the highest administrative body of the Central Magic Empire. Each of the 12 Star Saints is a powerful existence on the mainland, but at this moment, they are arguing. If the object of the quarrel is heard, it will feel very incredible. In the eyes of others, the existence that can make magicians of the Star Saint level quarrel with each other must be some kind of big devil. It's a pity that it's not. The object of the quarrel that can make these 12 Star Saints blush with each other is just the most ordinary mortal country. The reason why they quarreled was because they watched a video preserved by magic. 10 minutes ago, an image was placed in front of the 12 Star Saints. This image was taken by a star sage himself using magic power to lift the image out of the crystal mirror, and then placed it in front of everyone. This video is the battle between the 20,000 troops of the Ross Kingdom versus the 500,000 troops of the Orc Empire. Caesar, even if your teacher is Saint Merlin, you can't entertain us with such a trivial matter. The sound is incomparably vast and ethereal, constantly spreading in this room. A Star Saint was wearing a deep purple robe and a faceless mask with golden patterns on his face. He sat cross-legged in the air, surrounded by crystal pillars floating in the air, which seemed to form a seat to surround him. Looking at the other Star Saints, they are all dressed in the same way. Behind the 12 Star Saints, there is a scene of a starry sky, with countless stars shining. The 12 Star Saints are obviously human beings, but at this moment, it gives people a feeling that they are constantly merging into the stars in the sky. General feeling. Caesar, on the other hand, stood on the ground, and could only look up at the 12 Star Saints at the top like a mortal looking up at the stars in the sky. No, I think that this child has always been calm and will not make such jokes easily. Another bearded saint with a golden pattern and a faceless mask that couldn't be concealed turned his head to look at the Star Saint who spoke first. Caesar, what's special about this video, just tell me. A slightly charming female voice rang out, constantly echoing under the starry sky. Dear Saints, this video shows. When Caesar said this, he took a deep breath, as if he was still in disbelief, shocked by the things shown above. All the Star Saints looked down at Caesar, waiting for his next words. This video shows that a mortal army of 20,000 mortals, with less than 100 casualties, wiped out the whole process of the elite army of 50 people from the Orc Empire. Caesar closed his eyes, then opened them, looking up at the saints who were like 12 stars in the sky. Is there anything special about such a thing? We can give some scrolls casually, and those mortal troops can defeat enemies dozens of times their own. Yes, although such things are rare, they are not uncommon. There are also many magic scrolls made by us that have been circulated outside. The disapproving words of the Star Saints came from the sky. Caesar, even if your teacher is Saint Merlin, you can't amuse us with such a trivial matter. He was the first Star Saint to speak before, he repeated to Caesar again. No, Saints, it's different, that army of mortals didn't use any magical weapons. Not even any magicians among them, and most of them were probably a group of farmers a month or two ago. Quote, it was such a mortal army that completely wiped out 500,000 of the elite army of the Orc Empire. Specifically, Caesar won't say much, and I invite all saints to watch the video. After Caesar finished speaking, he dodged an image that appeared like a projection on the wall behind him. As for the meaning of what Caesar said, the several Star Saints did not think about it, but were immediately attracted by the picture. The picture is from the sky, and you can clearly see the dense and overwhelming Orc army from the perspective of God. There are a total of 500,000 people, as if an ocean called the Sea of People has appeared on the entire land. Countless Orc soldiers flooded the earth in darkness. Looking at the opposite side, there is a mountain top. There are obviously very few humans on the top of the mountain, and the line of defense is also very sparse. Seeing this, a Star Saint couldn't help but sneered. Caesar, do you want us to watch a massacre? What he meant was that the orcs slaughtered humans, but to the surprise of the Star Saint, Caesar nodded solemnly, with an endless solemnity on his face. Yes, this is a massacre. It was humans who slaughtered orcs. The battle begins. Countless orc griffin cavalry charged first, but just when all the saints of the stars thought that the battle would end with a wave of 50,000 orc griffin cavalry, something that shocked them 590 happened. I saw a sky-shattering sound suddenly erupted from the mortal position. The sound was so dense and loud that even the crystal surveillance ball at an altitude of 1,000 meters could hear it. Numerous light-pulling bullets showed their trajectory, and the griffin cavalry in the sky instantly lost a lot of casualties and fell from the sky. At the same time, the kingdom of Ross began to bombard the orc army, and clusters of explosion sparks exploded in the dense crowd. Every time, at least 10 orc heavy infantry could be lifted off. Afterwards, the orcs attacked the mortal positions, but then the human positions also erupted with terrifying firepower. Countless orc soldiers died tragically as if they had encountered an invisible wall. Afterwards, the battle continued like this for a while, and the orcs actually suffered more than 100,000 casualties. Rout. They retreated like the tide. Then dozens of huge, steel-like monsters appeared from above the human positions, chasing the fleeing orcs. It is very easy to crush the flesh and blood of the orcs. Then suddenly the picture flickered, cracks appeared, and then what was shown on the picture was falling from the sky. Then, the whole screen disappears. Silence. All the saints of the stars fell into a deadly silence after watching the picture. Chapter 82. Let's send the Duke of Golden Lion. 3/7. P.S. Chapter 3. There are 4 more chapters. Caesar. After a long time, suddenly a star sage shouted loudly. The sound echoed in this space like a shock wave, making Cecil's ears buzzing. The students are here, Caesar responded quickly. Are you quite sure that among these mortals, there are no magical creations, no magicians? Saint Merlin asked loudly. It seems to be a reprimand. Students for sure. This army of mortals is most likely still a farmer a month or two ago, and they have just been recruited into the army for a month or two, and the students have calculated that it is replaced by the army of our empire. It can also wipe out an army of almost 100,000 people in our empire with the same casualties. Caesar answered loudly. What? How is this possible? There are no magical creations, no magicians, just 20,000 mortals. How could it be possible to have such strength? Am I dreaming? Immediately, the group of star saints could no longer maintain that majestic appearance, and they were healed. It's no wonder they were shocked. Magicians have ruled this continent for thousands of years with absolutely overwhelming force, but today a group of mortals who can easily kill magicians suddenly appeared. How could this not shock them? While being shocked, they also felt an incomparable threat deeply in their hearts. Over there, the status of the magician is about to be shaken. As mentioned above, magicians have ruled mortals on this continent for thousands of years. The mortals who have always been at the bottom suddenly have the power to threaten the magicians who are at the top. How does this not make them feel shocked, feel threatened, feel scared? According to the students' observations, they used some kind of weapon, and the country to which this mortal army belongs, the Kingdom of Ross, they have mastered a certain method of making this kind of weapon, so that they can manufacture this kind of weapon on a large scale and in batches. At this time, Caesar expressed his research results. Big scale, in batches. These 6 words are like a sharp sword, piercing the hearts of all star saints. Such a powerful weapon can be mass-produced on a large scale. Doesn't that mean that a group of farmers holding this weapon is enough to kill a group of magicians without a group of troops? An illiterate mortal farmer who just holds a weapon and has no training at all can easily kill a magician who has been meditating every day and has practiced for more than 10 years. If someone dared to say that to them before, they must have laughed it off, because they knew very well that it was a joke and it would never happen. But now, Caesar put the facts in front of them, as if he slapped each of them hard on the face, making them completely sober and see the facts in front of them clearly. Mortals have mastered this fearsome weapon. As a result, the 12 star saints were divided into 2 factions, and they quarreled fiercely. One faction believes that they should send a star saint, even if it means sacrificing their own lives. They must cast a large-scale forbidden spell to completely destroy that mortal country. But the people on the other side have other ideas. They think that the door to the other world is about to be released, and they can let the group of mortals be used by them. After all, soldiers with this kind of weapon can be trained by random farmers, and their strength is still strong. They can be used as powerful cannon fodder to resist the invasion of alien demons when the gate of the alien world is completely opened. Impossible, impossible. Ordinary people are extremely ugly and greedy. They have this kind of weapon, and they will definitely find a way to overcome it. In my opinion, they must be completely destroyed. If you are unwilling to sacrifice your life to cast the forbidden spell, then let I come. For the noble rule of the magician class in the entire continent, I am willing to sacrifice my life. A star sage waved his hand and asserted very confidently. No, we star saints have the ability to cast forbidden spells. Once the forbidden spells are cast, Fang Yuan will be destroyed within a few miles. It is impossible for those mortals to resist such a mighty power. We can use forbidden spells to oppress and threaten them, but it is impossible for mortals to master the forbidden spells. As long as we have the forbidden spells in our hands, then we will be invincible. It is impossible for mortals to resist us. Another star saint retorted, he said. Yes, what the sage Chenfeng said makes sense. I think it makes sense. Seconded. Immediately, all the saints of the stars nodded in agreement. Only the extremely fierce saint remained silent, clenching his fists tightly under his robe. No, no. I will never allow a group of mortals, a group of ugly, greedy, extremely despicable mortals to sit on an equal footing with me. I'm sick of seeing them. The scale-plated saint gritted his teeth tightly, and his eyes under the golden patterned mask were bloodshot. He has a complete spiritual obsession with spiritual cleanliness, and he absolutely looks down on mortals psychologically. Because of some spiritual kangaroo reason, he just feels that it is better to be close to animals than to be close to those mortals. In general, it is actually mental illness. Then, who shall I send to contact the kingdom of Ross and let them fall into the arms of my central empire? Should we go in person? After all, they are just a group of mortals. They probably don't know the strength of magicians. Based on our identities, if we contact them in person, it may make them feel full of glory and self-inflation, which will lead to let they understand that they have weapons that can threaten us. This is wrong. A star saint was talking to himself. If Gu Yuan knew what he was thinking, Gu Genichi would definitely vomit blood. Why should he feel the glory and inflate himself when you come here? In fact, on this continent, the words of the Saint of Stars are also true. The Central Magic Empire is the first to oversee a huge empire on the entire continent. The 12 star saints are equal to the 12 most supreme emperors in the entire continent. According to their thinking, it is equivalent to the most honorable emperor of the empire personally inviting a farmer to work in the field. The farmer was naturally excited and honored. However, Gu Yuan is no farmer. I think, let's send people from the Gutongxi Alliance Empire. Yes, they are close. A star saint agreed. Why don't we let the Duke of the Golden Lion of the Gutongxi Empire contact the Kingdom of Ross on our behalf? Let the Duke of Golden Lion express our goodwill. They are just a group of mortals. When they know that the Saint of the Stars wants to confiscate them as slaves, they will definitely be too excited. There was a ferocious smile under the mask of the scale-plated saint, but he spoke in a very normal tone. The Duke of Golden Lion is one of his subordinates. Chapter 83 Orc Girl Mobile Unit. 4/7. P.S. The fourth update, there are 3 more updates, don't worry, readers, the website has a convulsion. Chapter 80 will not be allowed to read for no reason, the author is working on it. Golden Lion. In the Gutongxi Alliance Empire, there is a black and white phantom in front of the Golden Lion Duke, wearing a robe and a faceless mask. If you add colors, you can tell that it is the scale-plated saint. Holy One. The Duke of Golden Lion knelt down and saluted very respectfully. There is a mortal country in the western regions called the Kingdom of Loss, do you know that? The voice of the scale-plated saint sounded, and it entered the mind of the Duke of Golden Lion. The Duke of Golden Lion's heart trembled. In the Kingdom of Ross, why did the saint ask this? Does the saint know that he holds a map of the ancient demon ocean? If the scale-plated saint knows, then he is finished. No. Although the Duke of Golden Lion was trembling in his heart, he said very calmly on the surface. Well, I want you to mobilize all your troops and kill him for me. The scaled saint said harshly. Don't worry about magicians. I will support you with a magician army of 2,000 people. You must give it to me and completely destroy that mortal country. Remember, they have very powerful weapons. You must mobilize 807 if you can mobilize them. All of my troops, before everyone reacts, kill them for me. Every word of the scale-plated saint went straight to the Duke of the Golden Lion, making the Duke of the Golden Lion tremble in his heart. What's going on here? What happened to the kingdom of Ross? Why did the scaled saint want to destroy him? However, it just so happens that if you destroy the kingdom of Ross, you can destroy the kingdom of Ross. Anyway, if you want to destroy the kingdom of Ross, you can still complete the order of the scaled saint. How long will it take you to muster your full force? The scaled saint asked. Holy One, it's just a small country of mortals, do you really need to gather all the troops under your command? Do whatever I tell you to do. Yes, yes, yes. Holy One, because the countries under his control are scattered and far away, it may take a year for millions of troops to gather all of them. Just watch the time. The Duke of Golden Lion said hesitantly. Plating Lin pondered for a while, and said, it's okay, I will give you 2 years to completely destroy the kingdom of Ross. When you conquer the kingdom of Ross, you will have all the things you harvested. 2 years is a time of meditation for these long-lived star saints. When the time comes, Plating Lin just needs to find other star saints to do something casually to pass the time, and he will be able to fool the past 2 years. Looking back later, 2 years should be enough for millions of troops to swarm up and destroy the kingdom of Ross, and there are also magician troops sent by themselves. When the time comes, I will directly throw the blame to the Duke of Golden Lion. Anyway, it is just a pawn, and if it is lost, it will be lost. For the scaled sage, the kingdom of loss is important. Yuan didn't know anything about the Central Magic Empire and the Gutongxi Alliance Empire. Now Yuan is accepting the people of the Kingdom of Loth and the Kingdom of Kizi, making them all the subjects of the Kingdom of Loth. After the receiving is completed, Jinwang Muko will reach the level of tens of millions. After that, it is necessary to digest these populations and recuperate. The doctor was sent by Yuan to study the 2 great knights, the Dragon Knight Aren and Lucia. After all, as a double madman in medicine and scientific research, a doctor is very interested in this kind of superhuman whose strength far exceeds that of ordinary human beings. It didn't take long for the doctor to find Yuan with the preliminary research data. His Majesty. In Yuan's study, the doctor is reporting the data to Yuan very respectfully. Your Majesty, according to our research results, the Great Knight's physical fitness is about 4 times the limit of ordinary humans. AJCG quadruple. Yuan thought for a while and asked, is it just 4 times? I thought the Great Knight's physical fitness would be at least 10 times higher. Your Majesty, you don't want a physique 4 times smaller than Xiao Chao's. The doctor explained, the physical fitness of ordinary knights is twice that of ordinary humans. Although it sounds like a small number, the reality is very different. Their nerve response and strength are far superior to ordinary humans. Unarmed, ordinary knights can easily escape the attacks of more than a dozen humans, but when they are wearing heavy armor, they cannot be cut by knives or chopped by axes, they are equivalent to a humanoid tank on the ancient battlefield. Therefore, an ordinary knight wearing heavy armor and holding a weapon can easily slaughter more than 100 ordinary soldiers on a chaotic battlefield. As for a great knight, after the research of his subordinates, it is concluded that compared with ordinary knights, there is a special element in the body of a great knight. This element can continuously restore their physical strength, and their speed. The strength is also far greater than that of knights, so compared to ordinary knights, a big knight in heavy armor is equivalent to the gap between a tiger tank equipped with a perpetual motion machine and a flimsy little bean tank. But whatever. When the doctor said this, his tone suddenly changed and he became fanatical. Science and technology are the best in the world. No matter how powerful they are only flesh and blood after all. A small bullet hitting a vital point is enough to kill them. Compared to the kingdom of Ross led by your Majesty, they are nothing to mention. No one can block your Majesty's path. The doctor was still talking enthusiastically, but Yuan patted his head with a headache and said, that's all right, stop flattering, let's talk about something affordable and useful. Oh, Your Majesty, this time we have made a huge breakthrough in the Grand Knight. Your Majesty, you still remember those steel half-orc girls rescued by the Orc Empire before? The doctor pushed the gold-rimmed glasses on his face. Well, what's wrong with them? Yuan asked. Although those half-orc girls can withstand the magic power provided by the chaotic magic device, they can only barely fly, and they can't even attack, but we found it. As long as the hormone continuously produced in the Big Knight's body is transferred to the half-orc girl's body, it is equivalent to charging a dead electric car. Just this morning, a half-orc girl successfully created a strong magic shield. Your Majesty. Think about it, what kind of scene would it be like for such flying individual units to be equipped with the weapons of our great country? A mobile unit of orc girls armed with thermal weapons. Chapter 84 Compound Agent No. 1/5/7. P.S. Chapter 5. There are 2 more updates today. Your Majesty, I extracted these hormones from the Great Knight's body, and combined them with various medicines to refine and purify them. I named it Compound Number 1. The doctor took out a test tube from his pocket, which contained azure blue liquid. In the test tube on the white glove, the azure blue liquid glowed under the light. The name is okay too, and you're doing very well. Yuan nodded slightly, and asked again, how's the research on amomycin going? Your Majesty, this is a piece of cake for us. It has been preliminarily completed. We will wait for the first batch of people to conduct skin test reactions, and then experiment with penicillin. Very good, I decided to allocate another 1 million gold coins to you. A new batch of magic medicine unique to the Central Magic Empire has arrived in the city of Ross. Please study it. As you order, my lord. When the doctor heard that there was a batch of medicines unique to this world that could be researched by him, he became even more excited. After the doctor faded, Stevens walked in. Your Majesty, the total number of refugees from Lot and Kizi kingdoms in various cities has reached 6 million. Look. As Yuan's court steward, Stevens naturally had to report on matters related to people's livelihood. Where's Carlo Lin? Yuan rubbed his temples and asked. He hasn't seen Carlo Lin since he came back, and he doesn't know where she has gone. His Royal Highness Carlo Lin has been taking care of those refugees since half a month ago. After all, a large part of these refugees are from the former Kizi kingdom. Stevens said. Well, in this way, there are still many empty towns in the country. Go and arrange for those refugees, and then expand. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. There are already more than 10 million people. There are only 4 major cities, and the rest are all towns. We plan to expand those towns and try to expand 6 more cities. Yuan said to Stevens. There are a lot of refugees in the country, and there are many bandits from other kingdoms entering the country to rob. You go and inform Rotis, let him organize recruits, and carry out bandit suppression again. Yes, Your Majesty. Yes, Your Majesty. Stevens seemed to be remembering something at this time, and said to Yuan, Your Majesty, according to the practice of the mainland of Laurelland, the king is eligible to be crowned emperor if the population of the country exceeds 10 million. Your Majesty, you. The meaning of Stevens is obvious, Your Majesty, call yourself emperor. The king became the emperor, the kingdom of Ross, and the empire of Ross. Thinking about it, it was much more domineering than the former. Let's wait until the country gathers the refugees and settles down completely. Yuan sighed, and he lay down on the chair. This king is really not easy to be, there are a lot of government affairs to deal with, and a lot of regiments for him to decide. Exhausted. The border of the kingdom of Ross. A group of weak and disheveled refugees entered the border with great difficulty. Nid was also among the group of refugees. They looked at the outpost set up ahead. At this moment, a large group of people gathered there and didn't know what they were doing. Nid is a wealthy householder in Sunuo City, the capital of the kingdom of Lot. When Suno City was destroyed, his home and that of other rich people were the targets of the orcs' ultimate robbery. Nid's family was ruined like this, and he managed to escape from Sunuo City with his life. Along the way, they experienced a lot of hardships and were robbed. Some were bandit teams composed of rebels from the Lot Kingdom and Kizi Kingdom, and some were bandit teams composed of other refugees. But no matter what kind of robbers they are, highway robbery has done them a terrible job. So at this moment, Nid and the others were more or less terrified when they saw the crowd gathered in front of them. I'm afraid that those people in front are robbers blocking the road again. You guys, come here. At this time, a person shouted at them. This caused a riot among them. But when they saw clearly that the man was wearing the breastplate of the kingdom of Lothan lined with a military uniform, their fears lessened a little. But still hesitant to move forward. The mortal army in this era is not a good synonym. To describe it briefly, it is just an orderly team of robbers led by a king or noble. 0****. Along the way, they also experienced being robbed by their own kingdom's rebels. Although everyone knows the slogans and military songs shouted by the soldiers of the Kingdom of Ross, but slogans are slogans after all, and anyone can shout them. All vagrant teams who want to enter the Kingdom of Ross must register. If you don't register, you will be treated as robbers. And we will distribute food later, so forget it if you don't come. The Naros soldier yelled at them a few times with 98k on his back, then turned his head and left. Food, they will distribute food later. Nit's originally slightly plump figure had become thinner at this moment. 0. The last bit of food they had was taken by robbers 2 days ago. They have been hungry for 2 days now. Nit gritted his teeth, he didn't care, as long as he could eat, he would break into the dragon's lake and the tiger's den. Driven by food, they finally came to this outpost. At this moment, a lot of refugees have gathered here at this outpost. Another man who looked like an army officer was shouting, "Who among you has ever been a craftsman, carpenter or mason is fine?" Suddenly, more than a dozen people in the crowd raised their hands. Nit also raised his hand hesitantly. He used to learn carpentry when he was bored at home. "Okay, you guys come with me." The officer waved his hand, turned and left. A dozen or so people were timid, hesitated for a moment, and then followed the officer to the back of the outpost. Behind the outpost were 2 military vehicles loaded with supplies. A soldier took out a stack of clothes wrapped in plastic sheets from the military vehicle and just shipped from the factory. Another soldier took out a box from the military vehicle, which was covered with cotton cloth. As soon as the cotton cloth was opened, a scent of fragrance wafted out instantly. "These are sent to you, you eat first, and then Bohui will follow me." The craftsmen held the brand new clothes that were distributed to them, and the white-faced steamed buns handed to them by a soldier, but they all hesitated to accept them. Chapter 85 Me. Gu Yuan. Rich. 6/7. P.S. The 6th update, and one more update. Masters, these are for us. Nit's eyes were straightened, he swallowed desperately, and asked hesitantly. After all, Knight used to be a rich man, he knows the goods, and he can see that the fabrics of these clothes are all good things. In the past, at least 1 gold coin was needed to buy them in the Kingdom of Lot. Now, all of them are distributed to these refugees. The soldier was also stunned, and he said, "Of course it's for you, and it's not something valuable, eat it quickly, change your clothes after eating, and then follow us, waiting for you to assign work. You all have crafts, maybe you will be rich and powerful in the future." The soldiers forcibly stuffed the clothes in their hands and a few white-faced buns to Nit. Seeing 997, they were all hesitant, and reprimanded them, "Eat them all, and be careful who doesn't eat them, and I will beat them." Listening to the words of the soldiers, they realized that these high-quality clothes and precious white bread were really for them. They couldn't bear it anymore, looking at the white flour buns in their hands, their mouths were drooling rapidly, and they started to eat voraciously. A group of refugees squatted on the ground and devoured the white flour steamed buns. Nit couldn't bear it anymore and burst into tears. Their families were ruined by the orcs, and they suffered and wandered for more than a month. How many people they starved to death along the way, and how many times they almost died. At this moment, Deontay finally felt warm in such a small outpost in the Kingdom of Ross. And he also knows how rich the Kingdom of Ross is. In the Kingdom of Loth, clothes made of cloth made of a gold coin are casually distributed to these refugees. Knight believes that with his own ability, he will be able to start from scratch in the Kingdom of Ross. "Master Jun, let's eat first, what about those people outside?" At this time, Knight was chewing on the white flour steamed bun, and asked vaguely. "You don't have to worry about them. Someone else will take them away in a while, and they will be treated the same as you. They were originally farmers, and those who know how to farm will have their land allocated to them. Those who know how to do business will be arranged to work in the National Chamber of Commerce. Even if you don't know anything, now our Kingdom of Ross is building railways and roads. If you work hard, they won't starve to death, and they still have money. The soldier lit a cigarette and said to Nit. The cigarette in the soldier's hand was extinguished after taking 2 puffs. The cigarette was just developed in the kingdom of Ross. It was different from the cigarette on the Earth. It added some medicines unique to the Roraland continent, and the content of nicotine was very small. Really good stuff to relieve stress. He only got a few of them from his big brother who was an officer, so he is naturally reluctant to smoke them. There is still land for farming. Including Nit, they all stared wide-eyed, a little regretful in their hearts, had known that they would have said that they would farm the land, and they could still have the land. What is the most important thing in these mortal countries? That is the land. Where there is land, there is food, and when there is food, there is money. With food, there is everything. But in today's Lost Kingdom, even though the grain of the hybrid technology on the land has just been sown for a few months, the harvest has not yet been bumper. However, the Chamber of Commerce established by Yuan and 7 merchants sells goods to the member states of the Gutongsi Alliance and hundreds of human countries around them. Electric lights, artificial leather, plastic, cloth and other items can at least bring tens of millions of gold coins to the Kingdom of Ross every month. Yes, that's right, it's such a huge profit. At the initial industrial level of the Ross Kingdom, the cost of all assembly line made things is extremely cheap, and selling them to hundreds of human countries around them will earn 10 times the least profit. What's more, hundreds of millions of gold coins have been drawn from the treasury of the Orc Empire, and the Kingdom of Ross is extremely rich now. Even if Yuan lacks everything, he is not short of money. If you have money, you can naturally buy food, and there is no shortage of food. Not only the country is rich, but even the ordinary Luo's people are rich. They start small businesses casually, or bring their own goods to neighboring countries to sell. The cost is low and the profit is extremely high, so the people of Ross are generally very rich now. Life is even richer. Compared with ordinary people in other countries, the Kingdom of Ross is the sky, and they are the earth. Nit waited for the refugees to finish their food and change into their clothes, and they boarded the military vehicle excitedly. The military vehicle started, and the people in the vehicle, including Nit, immediately shouted excitedly. Hey, tell me, how does this cart work without a horse? How do I know? It's magic, it should be magic. A group of ex-refugees were sitting on the truck, chatting excitedly, and Nit secretly glanced at his mouth when he heard this sentence. Although he didn't know the mechanism of this car, he knew that it was definitely not powered by magic. He had seen magical creations in Lot City before, and there was a unique, indescribable feeling in them. Nit couldn't tell what it felt like, but when he was close to those magical creations, he could feel it. It had always been like this before, but at this moment he didn't feel any strange feeling in this military vehicle. Therefore, he is sure that this is definitely not a magical creation. Thinking of this, he once again marveled at the power of the Lost Kingdom. Such a thing that is not a magical creation can be created casually, what a great power it must be. After making money in the Kingdom of Ross, I will also buy a 4.8 of this kind of army. If you can't buy a big one, you can buy a smaller one. Nit thought happily. Thinking of this, he immediately looked forward to life in the Kingdom of Ross. At this moment, a figure flew across the sky suddenly, causing everyone to look up. Ah, 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 ah. Yar, you should be better. Angelina hugged Yar in the air, her long golden hair fluttering in the wind. She let out a cry of surprise, tears came out of everything. Ha 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 ha. This thing is so much fun. Yar let out bursts of laughter. She carried a crude device on her back. No matter how it looked like the devices on the backs of those steel half-orc girls. Chapter 86 Mysterious Character. 7/7. P.S. 7th update today. P.S. I'm really intoxicated by the broken review mechanism of the website. I can guarantee that I didn't write any prohibited things in Chapter 80, and I've checked all kinds of words, but it's just Nima's blocking. It will take a day to recover, day. What Yar was carrying on her back was indeed the magic power supply device on the backs of those steel orc girls rescued by Yuan. It's just that the craftsmanship of the Orc Empire on some key parts is extremely rubbish and rough. The shape is also extremely simple, so this magic power supply device did not play a big role in the half-orc girl. But the Kingdom of Ross was different. After these things arrived in Ji Yuan's hands, Ji Yuan immediately ordered to start repairing them, replacing various parts in a day or two. The magic power supply device does not need to be changed, it only needs to replace various sophisticated craft parts of the Kingdom of Ross in terms of hardware. And just change it, guess what, it works. Although the half-orc girl is more suitable for magic power, it can exert the maximum power of the device. But Angelina and Yar knew how to use magic, and Yar borrowed one in the name of an experiment. As soon as the magic power was activated, the device immediately started flying around with Yar. And Yar has always been such a carefree character, who is afraid of chaos in the world. Angelina is different. She is worried about Yar, and she pulls Yar when she is taking off, and she is taken to the sky by Yar. After flying for a while, Yar became familiar with this device, and immediately she began to soar freely in the sky with the wind. After all, magicians can only fly in the sky when they reach the realm of sky mages. Yar is just an ordinary magician, and she enjoys the feeling of flying into the sky. How can it make her unhappy? Your Majesty! Your Majesty! In Ji Yuan's study, Stevens yelled and walked in. What's up? Ji Yuan was dealing with government affairs and looked up at Stevens. Yar borrowed a magic device from the scientific research room. Your Majesty, she has flown away now, and she still has Angelina with her. Stevens walked in hurriedly with an old bone, and then he couldn't help but tapped his waist. I know. Ji Yuan said casually. Ah, Your Majesty, do you know? Your Majesty, you also know that it is made by beasts. Although it is replaced with our parts, the failure rate is still extremely high. It is very dangerous. Stevens felt anxious for a while. It would be fine if only Yar went out. The key is that Angelina was accidentally taken away when Yar flew away. Angelina is well behaved, and has been very serious about kicking Ji Yuan to handle things. And in Angelina's heart for Ji Yuan, Stevens has long been aware of it. Thinking that Angelina is an elf princess, and a king like Ji Yuan is a good match, so Stevens wanted to match Ji Yuan and Angelina. Stevens also watched Ji Yuan grow up, and now the Kingdom of Ross is getting stronger and stronger. Stevens is also happy, but Ji Yuan is still in his 20s and still not married. Stevens is also worried as an old man. In this era, people get married very early, and Ji Yuan is 21 and still not married. In this era, he is considered an older single youth. And the country needs a queen too. I know that the failure rate of the device is extremely high, and I am not unprepared. Ji Yuan looked at Stevens, and the corner of his mouth curled into an arc. Prepare. Stevens had doubts on his old face. Oh my. Yar was flying happily in the sky, when suddenly the magic device behind her made a sound of pause. The orc manufactured magic device is good enough to fly, but it was only replaced with parts from the Kingdom of Ross, which made it fly for a while, but it would fail, as expected. Yar's speed suddenly dropped in the sky. Not only did their speed drop, but their height also dropped. Hey Yale 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 yale. Going to fall. Yar and Angelina immediately let out bursts of shouts in the air. The two girls hugged each other, and tears burst out of their two delicate and perfect faces. Quote exclamation mark quote. With a muffled sound, Yar and Angelina froze in the air for a moment, and then slowly floated up in the air. Angelina looked up with tears in her eyes, and saw a big umbrella above them, covering the sun, and leading them slowly towards the ground. Angelina and Yar hugged each other, heaving a sigh of relief. Ji Yuan had already installed a parachute on it. If there were no insurance measures, how could Tongyuan lend such a thing with a very high failure rate to Yar? After the second daughter landed safely, Angelina's little feet touched the ground, and she only felt that her legs were soft. Yar, you are too reckless. Ji Yuan has already said that this product has a high failure rate, and you dare to take it out and use it secretly, really? Angelina breathed a sigh of relief after landing, but soon she raised her small hand and slammed Yar on the head. Ouch! Yar covered her head. She secretly whispered to Angelina, "Isn't there a parachute? You also know that there is a parachute. If there is no parachute, then the two of us will probably fall to our death by now." Angelina said angrily. She thought that if she fell to her death, she would never see Gu Yuan again. 110 and Gu Yuan would never see her again. And she didn't even send her first kiss to Gu Yuan. What a pity it would be if he died like this. The majestic elf princess actually fell to her death. After being known, even if she died, it would be reduced to a joke. All right, Your Highness, Yar is wrong. Yar lowered her head in front of Angelina in great disappointment. Well, it's good to know you're wrong. Angelina sighed. Even though she was not much taller than Yar, she still touched Yar's head. At this moment, a slightly charming female voice suddenly came from the side. Little sister, is this, Ross, Kingdom? Angelina and Yar looked around, and saw a person covered in a purple gold-rimmed robe standing on the ground not far from them, with a hood on his head and a white faceless mask on his face. There are golden patterns on the mask, and the strange thing is that the mask is a complete piece without any gaps, which makes people wonder whether the person can see the way. And 2 bundles of long purple hair hung down from the high chest. That person seemed to have stood there for a long time, but the strange thing was that Angelina and Yar never felt it. Who are you? Angelina's small face immediately became vigilant. Chapter 87 Bring out the nuclear bomb. 1/7. P.S. I didn't expect that I would update it in the morning. Actually, I didn't expect it either. P.S. The first update today, there are 6 more updates. I'm just a traveler, that's all. She let out bursts of chuckles. Her voice was so charming that it seemed to be able to confuse people's hearts. And he uses very strange hyphenation when speaking, as if he deliberately doesn't speak well. Traveler. Angelina looked at her suspiciously. Yar snorted at the side, and said, Who are you kidding? You are from the Central Region. I don't believe that one of the famous 12-star saints of the Central Magic Empire in the Central Region will be idle and have nothing to do in the whole continent. Travel, but also came to our kingdom of loss. Unexpectedly, my little sister, you, saw it. She seemed to be very surprised and said, Come out to deceive people without even changing a piece of clothes, and look at your strange way of speaking. Before Yar could speak, Angelina suddenly covered her mouth and pressed her down hard. Don't worry, you are Tianluan Saint, one of the 12-star saints. Angelina managed to suppress the struggling Yar, and said to her, Is it so obvious? Saint Tianluan said in surprise. His voice was broken and charming. It is said that the voice of the Saint Tianluan has a huge magical power, which can easily confuse people's hearts. Among the saints of the 12 stars, you are the only one who can speak like this. Angelina said with a little admiration in her eyes. Saint Tianluan is the only female star saint among the 12-star saints. She is the object of worship of all female magicians in the whole continent, and Angelina, as a female elf magician, naturally loves Tianluan. Luan Shengja looked forward to it. Angelina's vision is different from the worship of ordinary female magicians. Angelina hopes that one day she can also reach the level of the star saint mage like the Tianluan saint. Looks like it's too famous, it's not a good thing, Saint Tianluan chuckled twice and said. But the longing is longing. A star saint came to the kingdom of Ross at this juncture. Naturally it is impossible to just come and see, travel. Angelina should be vigilant. She looked at Saint Tianluan and asked, I don't know what's the matter for you to come to our kingdom of Ross. We, kingdom of loss. But, I remember you, such, appearance characteristics, you are an elf from, Golden Essence City. So what, will it be someone from the kingdom of Ross, from Jinjing City, Elven Princess, Your Highness? Saint Tianluan spoke slowly, then raised his hand that looked like suet jade, and pinched Angelina's little face. Angelina stuttered immediately. I want you to manage. Compared to Angelina, Yar was very fierce. She stuck out her tongue at Tianluan Saint, then pulled Angelina away. Your Highness, leave her alone, let's go back. By doing this, Yar was very sure that the Tianluan Saint would not be angry. The temper of the Tianluan Saint was well known among all the 12-star saints. After Angelina was dragged away by Yar, the voice of Tianluan Saint sounded like glue from behind. Isn't it? I found it here, the kingdom of mortals, I belong. There was a hint of cunning in her charming voice. It seems that this Tianluan Saint still has this girl's thoughts. Well, Angelina's small face turned red in an instant with her back to the Tianluan Saint. At the same time, the image of Gu Yuan appeared in her mind, and when she thought of Gu Yuan, Angelina's face turned red like a fruit. Okay, little sisters, I can swear in the name of my star, holy. I won't do any outrageous things, let alone endanger the kingdom of Ross. Saint Tianluan laughed softly. Even if she was wearing a mask, people could feel the feminine charm that was exuding from her all the time. Following the words of Saint Tianluan, a magic circle suddenly appeared in front of Saint Tianluan, which seemed to lock on something, and then merged into the body of Saint Tianluan. This is the lock of oath. A magician at the star saint level does not swear easily. A 10-mile oath is an inviolable oath. Turning around and seeing the lock of oath of Saint Tianluan appear, Angelina was relieved. What she is afraid of at the moment is that the kingdom of Ross will attract the attention of the Central Magic Empire, and the Central Magic Empire will not allow such an extraordinary mortal country as the kingdom of Ross to appear. But at this moment the Saint Tianluan appeared and locked the oath, so Angelina's raised heart could be put down. It seems that she really did not come to the kingdom of Ross with ulterior motives. Outside Los Angeles, Angelina and Yara walked hand in hand, while Saint Tianluan followed quietly. The passers-by along the way seemed to ignore the Tianluan saint who was dressed very differently from them. Is this the capital of Ross Kingdom? Saint Tianluan stood still under the city gate, looking at the Ross soldiers standing guard at the gate and the 98K on their backs. There are also a pair of MG-42 machine guns and 14.5mm high-level dual-purpose machine guns erected on the city wall. There will be a machine gun erected almost every less than 10 meters, and there will be a 14.5mm high-level dual-purpose machine gun every 50 meters. On the city wall, there are soldiers from the Kingdom of Ross patrolling in squads. It can be said that they are patrolling and guarding, armed to the teeth. Such creation, even I can't see the principle. Saint Tianluan was amazed in his heart, but his special tone of sentences good Wang Jiao made people unable to feel her surprise. Angelina faced a star saint, and they had nothing to do. Even if they didn't lead the way, the Tianluan saint would find Los Angeles by himself. Besides, Saint Tianluan also used the oath lock just now. She could only be allowed to come to Rose City. However, as soon as Angelina entered the city, she directly informed the guards at the gate, asking them to inform Gu Yuan that such a big man had come to Los Angeles. After hearing Angelina's report, ordinary soldiers didn't understand what the Saint of Stars meant, but he still reported it truthfully. The guarding soldiers outside the city touched the 98K they were carrying on their backs one by one, and they looked very vigilantly at the Tianluan saint who was standing just like that at the gate of the city. And the ancient Genichi in the city knew that one of the 12 star saints of the Central Magic Empire came to find him. Gu Yuan's first reaction was to move the nuclear bomb out here. Chapter 88 The Saint of Tianluan. 2/7. P.S. The second update. There are 5 updates today. P.S. In fact, Saint Tianluan is a good person. P.S. The second update. There is still a 5th update. Gu Yuan's first reaction was to bring out the nuclear bomb. But then he found out that the Star Saint had sworn off the oath chain, vowing not to do anything that would endanger Gu Yuan or the Kingdom of Ross, otherwise he would die if he violated the oath. Gu Yuan was relieved. But at this moment, Gu Yuan became more determined in his heart. He must research the nuclear bomb as soon as possible, and strive to be able to independently manufacture the nuclear bomb. Only in this way, Gu Yuan will have enough cards to compete with the top magicians on this continent. At the same time, the Navy has to hurry up to build. However, Gu Yuan was also extremely vigilant when he was about to meet the Star Saint. I have made all the preparations. Hundreds of T-34 tanks are under martial law in the center of the city, and the main step is 10 battalions, 5 steps and 1 sentry. In the center of Los Angeles, soldiers wearing pitch-black red dragon busts, lined with black military uniforms, steel helmets, masks, and carrying 98K on their backs are patrolling under martial law. A pair of MG-42 general-purpose machine guns and 14.5mm high-level dual-purpose machine gun 537 were erected. Please come with me. An expressionless officer came to Tianluan Saint outside the city at this moment, he said. Ji Yuan obviously also heard about the name of Saint Tianluan outside the city, so he specially sent an officer from the system's German guards to bring Saint Tianluan to him. After Tianluan Saint walked all the way through the street, he obviously saw more than 10 high-rise buildings that were under construction. I didn't expect mortals can build such a majestic building. Saint Tianluan looked at the building in the center of the city that was under construction and already had a height of 100 meters. Her tone this time was full of amazement. Subscribe to Chinese novel Audio Wave. Before coming to the kingdom of Ross, she was mentally prepared that she might see a different scenery, but when she really saw the reinforced concrete and concrete buildings of Ross City, she was inevitably amazed. There are no reinforced concrete buildings on the entire continent. It is the only one in the kingdom of Ross. Saint Tianluan stretched out her palm and touched a reinforced concrete wall. Feeling the astonishing thickness, she was even more surprised. AJBJ, because of the thickness of the building, even with her strength, I am afraid it cannot be destroyed. Is such a building really only a group of mortals can build? Before he knew it, he became very curious about Ji Yuan. What kind of man is he who can lead the establishment of such a kingdom? It really makes her curious. And when Ji Yuan ordered the construction of this building, he built it according to the standard of nuclear bomb protection at all costs. The high-rise building occupies a very large area, with a total of 18 floors of walls inside and outside. The thickness of reinforced concrete on each wall is more than 5 meters. Moreover, there are several special anti-radiation steel plates inlaid in each wall. And the depth of the foundation has also reached a depth of 100 meters. Although the high-rise buildings on the ground are anti-nuclear bunkers, they are actually a kind of camouflage. The most center of the 100 meters underground is the anti-nuclear bunker. If a nuclear explosion occurs, the outer layers of walls will block the power and radiation for the first time. In the end, the power gradually decreases layer by layer. After reaching the center of the ground, the power is no longer worth mentioning. Moreover, it is still unknown how powerful the forbidden spell that the Star Saint exploded with all his strength is. However, when Ji Yuan built buildings, he could only use the parameters of the nuclear bomb as a reference. But what Ji Yuan didn't know was that the Star Saint had only one chance to use the forbidden spell in his life. It is because the forbidden spell has a wide range. Once the forbidden spell is used, it is impossible for the Star Saint who used the forbidden spell to escape. So this thing is a one-time use. That's why when the meeting was held to discuss the kingdom of Ross, the Scaled Saint would say that he wanted to destroy the kingdom of Ross, even if he personally cast the forbidden spell at the cost of his life. However, what the Scaled Saint said meant that, as a Star Saint, it was impossible for him to use the forbidden spell at the cost of his life just because of a group of mortals who might threaten him. The scale-plated saint looked down on mortals extremely, and because of this, it was even more impossible for him to give up his precious life. Otherwise, why did he find the Duke of the Golden Lion before, and he could just go directly to die with Ji Yuan? Saint Tianluan was led round and round by the officer, round, and finally Saint Tianluan almost passed out before he reached his destination. This extremely complicated route can only be completely memorized by System Shile. And the structure is special, like a maze. After all, Ji Yuan is just an ordinary knight. As the king of the kingdom of Ross, Ji Yuan is extremely cautious. Only the Saint Tianluan who swore an oath with his life that he would not harm Ji Yuan in various senses and would not harm the kingdom of Ross would be allowed to enter by Ji Yuan. Finally, Saint Tianluan saw Ji Yuan in a study. Ji Genichi, as always, was wearing a neat black military uniform and sitting behind his work. At the moment, he is busy with government affairs, because his head is lowered and he is wearing a black military cap with a large brim, so that people cannot see his face. The red dragon badge on the military cap exudes a strange red luster under the light, and Tianluan Saint can only see the straight and upright bridge of the nose and the handsome chin like a knife and axe. Although he couldn't see Ji Yuan's eyes, Saint Tianluan felt at this moment that such a mortal king as Ji Yuan looked so mysterious and handsome. He's really a excessive man. Seeing Ji Yuan, Saint Tianluan let out a dissatisfied snort. The sound is very dreamy. Actually, I took people around for so long. Saint Tianluan's voice seemed to be able to direct people's minds, but Ji Yuan didn't respond at all. If you have something to do, please explain why you are here. After all, I am very busy. Ji Yuan said without raising his head. Her voice is so charming, and she speaks in a deliberate intermittent tone. Ji Yuan just felt like he was about to get goosebumps all over his body. He was definitely not a serious woman. Also, even if you are a star saint, I ask you to speak well in front of me. Ji Yuan raised his head and stared at Saint Tianluan. And Saint Tianluan saw a pair of pitch-black eyes, as if they could hold the stars in the sky. What a man who is too much. If I speak well, people are afraid that you will not be able to bear it. Saint Tianluan took off the gold-patterned faceless mask on his face, revealing a suffocatingly beautiful face. Her red lips parted slightly, and a wave of charm radiated from the inside to the outside, naturally and instantly. Chapter 89 What a Female Hooligan. 3/7. P.S. The third update. There are 4 more updates. There was a slightly smug expression on Tianluan Shengzhe's breathtakingly beautiful face. There are not many people who have seen her true face, but everyone who has seen her true face, regardless of gender, will fall into obsession for a moment. Although Saint Tianluan didn't care about her appearance, she was extremely confident about this. After Tianluan Saint took off his mask, he waited for the mortal king in front of him to show the same obsessive expression as everyone else. At the same time, I was thinking in my heart, if such a handsome man had an obsessed look on his face, what would it be like? Thinking about it, Saint Tianluan began to look forward to it. But Ji Yuan just gave an expressionless, "Oh," as if it was nothing more than that, then lowered his head and continued to deal with government affairs. This reaction shocked Tianluan Shengzhe deeply. Anyway, it made Saint Tianluan extremely upset. Aren't you surprised? Saint Tianluan suddenly approached Ji Yuan, staring at Ji Yuan with big eyes, small eyes with an extremely beautiful face. Why are you surprised? Aren't you able to speak well? Why do you still speak in such broken sentences on purpose? Ji Yuan raised his head and stared at her blankly. Strange, why didn't it work? Saint Tianluan didn't answer Ji Yuan's words, but spoke to himself. Saint Tianluan, since she was born until now, thousands of years ago, she has always carried a very unique charm. This kind of charm will be accompanied by her words, bewitching others all the time. Especially when accompanied by her beautiful and suffocating face, it will make people instantly infatuated, and they can fanatically give everything for her, even including their lives. Therefore, unlike other star saints will only wear a gold-patterned faceless mask when they are in meetings, while Tianluan saints wear it all the time. Then the target of the sentence will be charmed. That's why the sage Tianluan speaks intermittently on purpose, and the broken sentences are also very strange, because only in this way can he avoid accidentally charming others. And because of this reason, Saint Tianluan is now 800 years old, and has never been in love once. I don't even know what it's like to hold hands with a man, because she doesn't dare. Other people will be completely charmed just by seeing her face and hearing her speech, let alone holding hands. God knows how crazy it will be. But today, it has been with her since she was born, and it has been thousands of years, that all-time charm. It was on Ji Yuan's body, completely failed. This result surprised Tianluan Shengzhe and upset him. Why does it fail on Ji Yuan? Saint Tianluan originally just wanted to exude his own charm and tease Ji Yuan, but in the end, after trying this, he came up with such a result. Originally, he wanted to see that Ji Yuan was not calm, but the Tianluan saint himself became not calm. Why does it fail? Saint Tianluan couldn't figure it out, and even looked dumbfounded, muttering in his mouth. Ji Yuan, on the other hand, stood in front of him frowning. Like a foolish Saint Tianluan, his heart skipped a beat. It's over, this mage at the level of a star saint can't be a female fool. Talk to him a few words and become stupid. Ji Yuan said that he will not take the blame for it. Thinking of this, Ji Yuan looked at Saint Tianluan with pity. It's a pity, such a beautiful woman, and a mage of the star saint level, is actually a fool. At this time, Saint Tianluan happened to look at Ji Yuan, and the eyes of the two met. What kind of eyes do you have? Saint Tianluan said quietly. Ah, nothing. Ji Yuan was a little embarrassed. Suddenly, at this moment, Saint Tianluan took a sudden step forward, stretched out his hand and grabbed Ji Yuan. Ji Genichi was startled. Before he could react, he was grabbed by the celestial sage. The next moment, a scene that surprised Ji Yuan happened. He saw Saint Tianluan's slender, white and smooth hands like suet jade grabbed his hand suddenly, and then rubbed it hard. While rubbing, he said, "It turns out that this is how it feels to shake hands with a man." 800 years. Saint Tianluan was born without a father, and was raised by his mother since he was a child. He was born in a noble magician family and was well protected since he was a child. So, from her birth to now, she has never held hands with a man. Not 10 times. At this moment, I finally feel it, and it turns out to be such a feeling. 0. Seeking flowers, 0. It was so warm, and she was so touched. Saint Tianluan firmly held Ji Yuan's hand, feeling satisfied in his heart. Damn, it's over, this is not only a female fool, but also a female hooligan. Ji Yuan's heart suddenly panicked. And Saint Tianluan also noticed the incomparably weird gaze that Ji Yuan was looking at her. She blushed, and immediately let go of Ji Yuan's hand. Turning her back, Saint Tianluan covered her face with both hands. She could only feel that her cheeks were scorching hot at the moment. It turns out that, blush is such a feeling, so novel. My heart, why is it beating so fast, why? After a long time, Saint Tianluan covered his heart to soothe his beating heart, and then turned around. 0. After Tianluan Saint's explanation, Ji Yuan suddenly realized that he had misunderstood her. 800 years of celibacy must not be affordable for ordinary people. Must be very lonely. Ji Yuan looked at Saint Tianluan, and a warm smile appeared on his handsome face. Saint Tianluan seemed to have thought of something at this moment, staring at Ji Yuan's thin lips. Then her face became redder and hotter. Ji Yuan looked at her strangely. What's wrong? Holding hands, blushing, heart beating so fast, could this be the feeling of falling in love in the legend? Could this be love at first sight? Saint Tianluan took a deep breath, and she felt her heart beating faster and faster. That's right, the feeling of falling in love is like a legend to the former Tianluan saint. Thinking about it this way, it's really pitiful, because even the most ordinary mortals have felt this kind of feeling, but the Saint Tianluan, who is a star saint, is actually still in the legend of such things as love. No, if you miss it, it may be a lifetime of regret. Saint Tianluan didn't know where to read this sentence, but now she remembered it. Then, under Ji Yuan's shocked eyes, her tender red lips kissed Ji Yuan fiercely. 800 years of depression and 800 years of loneliness seemed to be released at this moment. Ji Yuan's eyes widened immediately. This is really a female hooligan. She held his hand and kissed him forcibly. Chapter 90. The king's life is too corrupt. 4/7. P.S. The fourth update, there are 3 more. Ji Yuan couldn't take it anymore. If you can endure this, then you are still a man. Ji Yuan turned against the client and suppressed her who was completely inexperienced. Immediately, the room was full of spring night. And her 800 years of loneliness and 800 years of depression have been completely released on this Ji Yuan. We will be lovers from now on. There was a shy look on Tianluan's beautiful face, and for a while, he took advantage of this face, which was unparalleled in beauty and beauty. Ah! At this moment, Ji Yuan had an annoyed expression on his face. I couldn't hold back for a while, and made such a mistake. But after thinking about it, having a mage at the level of a star saint as a wife is not a bad thing. About 980. Boom boom boom. There was a knock on the door at this time. Ji Yuan immediately looked down at his clothes, whether he had put them on or tidied them up. The tie is a little crooked. Ji Yuan was just about to tidy up his tie, but Tianluan unexpectedly stretched out his hand to tidy up Ji Yuan's tie with a gentle face. Let me do it. Tianluan had an incomparably beautiful smile on his face. About a minute later, Tianluan looked at the tie that he had pulled into a ball with a dark face. Let me do it. Ji Yuan sighed, and refastened the tie under the hard lapel of the military uniform. After a while, she straightened her tie, and Tianluan saw magic circles spinning in her eyes. She nodded, okay, I've already memorized how to use this thing. As he spoke, he hugged Ji Yuan's arm. Next time, definitely won't make a mess. The voice is charming and lovely. Ahem, well, someone is coming. Ji Yuan coughed and said. Only then did Tianluan reluctantly stand aside and put on the gold-patterned faceless mask again, covering up that alluring appearance again. It was as if she had become that star saint again at this moment. And only the ancient Genichi people in this world know how enthusiastic Tianluan is after letting go of his reserve in front of him. Come in. After Ji Yuan made sure everything was sorted out, he opened his mouth and said. The door was pushed open. Angelina's petite body walked in holding a large box-like device, her soft blonde hair was tied into 2 ponytails, and she was still wearing the pitch-black hair that Ji Yuan gave her at the beginning, which was 1 size bigger. Large brim military cap. As soon as she entered the room, a suspicious expression appeared on her delicate face. The small nose moved slightly, and murmured, what a strange smell. As he spoke, he looked suspiciously at Ji Yuan, who was serious about government affairs, and Tianluan, who was standing aside. But she was only puzzled for a moment, and quickly said to Ji Yuan, Yar is too much, she actually secretly took out this device to use. It's okay, I have prepared for it, you should have experienced it yourself. Ji Yuan said casually. Angelina nodded her head, her face was serious. Falling from a high altitude with a parachute is really exciting. Leave this, something, to me. At this moment, Tianluan's way of speaking has become that strange intermittent again. After all, Angelina is still here at the moment. Only when Tianluan is alone with Ji Yuan, will his way of speaking become normal, and he will seem to be a different person. Enthusiasm is high. At this moment, Angelina is here, so Tianluan is still the saint of Tianluan. After Tianluan said this, Angelina looked at Ji Yuan. Ji Yuan nodded and said, you can leave it to her. With Ji Yuan's consent, Angelina handed the big box in her arms to Tianluan. As soon as Tianluan touched the big box, he said, I can improve it by 10. Magic Emperor, Kingdom, also, has such, costume, system. And I, still, are, star, Chen Sage, reform, create, come, not at all, effortless, gas. Tianluan spoke intermittently, her tone still charming. Hearing Tianluan's way of speaking, Ji Yuan felt dizzy. Speak too slowly. Angelina, you go down first, the saint still has something to talk about. Quote. Ji Yuan said to Angelina 0. Angelina nodded her head, and before leaving, she still looked at Tianluan and Ji Genichi very strangely. She always felt that Yinru and Ji Yuan were hiding something from her. But after thinking about it again, Saint Tianluan is one of the 12 star saints of the Central Magic Empire, so it should be impossible for him to have anything to do with Ji Yuan. I must find a chance to express my love to Ji Yuan. After Angelina left the room, she thought so in her heart. However, just thinking about Ji Yuan's figure made Angelina's face flushed. That girl's thoughts on you, don't tell me you don't understand. As soon as Angelina left, Tianluan put down the box, his soft and boneless body seemed to be attached to Ji Yuan's body. What do you think? Ji Genichi froze. He's really an emotional idiot. You really don't understand, Tianluan said in surprise. Understand what? Ji Yuan was still at a loss. That girl likes you. Tianluan laughed softly, and the branches of the smile trembled wildly. What? Angelina likes me. Ji Yuan suddenly realized, no wonder Angelina often blushes because of his unconscious touch. Ji Yuan thought it was Angelina's body sensitivity 4.0. The result is, such a reason. It's okay, if you want, I can help you to accept that little girl too. After all, you are the king, 3 wives and 4 concubines are nothing for a king. Tianluan said with a teasing smile. OMG. Lena, Carlo Lin, Angelina, Tianluan. 4 girls, Lena is considered a lowly, Angelina is barely a girl, Carlolin is a popular female general type, because she is considered a royal sister type. In other words, in the previous life on the earth, the human designs were considered top-notch, yet they all gathered by his side. Is this the life of an aristocratic king in another world? Corruption. It's simply too corrupt. However, this feeling is unbearable. Chapter 91 Build a port. 5/7. P.S. 5th update. There are 2 more updates. By the way, Tianluan, how powerful is the forbidden spell for your star-level mages? Yuan asked suddenly at this moment. Forbidden spell. The power of the forbidden spell cast by a general star sage can probably level a place with a diameter of 2 kilometers around the star sage. Tianluan held Yuan's arm and did not let go, thinking for a while. The largest forbidden curse in the history of the mainland was 10 star saints who gave up their lives. The super-large forbidden curse used together has a range of 10 kilometers around the master. 10 star saints gave up their lives. When Yuan heard this, he was puzzled. Let go of the forbidden curse, let go of the forbidden curse, why give up your life? Because the forbidden spell is very powerful, and after the star saint uses it, the forbidden spell will expand around the star saint, so it is impossible to escape from the range of the forbidden spell, so we were killed together. Tianluan said, I'm going to practice with you for hundreds of years, 990,000 years, and finally to die with the enemy. Yuan was startled. Yuan thought that star saints could release forbidden spells like bombers, but now I tell him that this thing is just a one-time firework. And if you want to let go, you have to cultivate for hundreds of thousands of years. Yuan began to calculate in his heart. In the previous world, a little boy atomic bomb was dropped during the World War II, and the range of the impact was about 2 kilometers, and the forbidden spell released by an ordinary star saint was the power of a little boy. And you must know that the technology during World War II was not as developed as it was later, and the TNT equivalent of the little boy atomic bomb was only 14,000 tons. And now Yuan is holding a 20,000-ton TNT equivalent bomb, a 50,000-ton yield bomb, and finally a super horrific super atomic bomb with a full 50 million-ton TNT equivalent. Oh my god. The range of a little boy atomic bomb with the equivalent of 15,000 tons of TNT is no more than 2 kilometers away, which is about the same power as the forbidden spell released by an ordinary star saint. And how terrifying is the 50 million tons of TNT equivalent in his hand? This is not a fantasy, Yuan really has an atomic bomb equivalent to 50 million tons of TNT in his hand. Yuan thinks it's better not to say that he has an atomic bomb, so as not to scare others. Subscribe to Chinese novel Audio Wave. However, the atomic bomb is the whole card, and it is the last card to be revealed. But Yuan can predict that once this 50 million-ton TNT equivalent atomic bomb explodes anywhere in the Laurelland continent, its movement and power must be appalling. How many star saints is this comparable to? Tianluan, Saint of the Stars, are there only 12 members of the Council of Counselors of your Central Magic Empire? Yuan asked again. No, the number of star saints is not that many in the entire continent, but it is definitely more than our council composed of 12 star saints. We are just the 12 strongest star saints who entered the council, and the other star saints should live in seclusion, but if the mainland is not peaceful in the future, a dozen hidden star saints may be pulled out. Tianluan said. Not calm. Well, the gate to another world has been loosened recently, and the demons will probably appear again soon. Demons. Are there really such things as demons? After getting the news he wanted, Yuan's heart became a little heavy. In the future, the powerful enemies I may face are not only the people on the Laurelland continent, but even more likely to face the legendary demons that the people on the Laurelland continent are terrified of. I have to accumulate strength quickly. And the Navy. The Navy must develop as soon as possible, and the construction of port shipping must be healthy. With the Navy, Yuan can be said to be invincible. After all, the Navy can fight close and run far. Thinking of this, Yuan immediately picked up the newly built radio device on the desk and said to it, "Call all the chief engineers to see me immediately." "Yes, Your Majesty." Tianluan looked at the radio device in Yuan's hand, with surprise in her eyes. She didn't expect that this kind of creation that only exists in magic can be created in a mortal country like the Kingdom of Ross, and it doesn't use magic at all. The usage seems to be more convenient than magic creation. In about half an hour, a large group of chief engineers gathered in Gu Yuan's study. At this time, Gu Yuan took out a picture from the table and slammed it on the table, saying, "Come and see, how long will it take you to build the port depicted on this picture? Your Majesty, if all other buildings are shut down, if we try our best to build this port, it will take more than a month." A chief engineer picked up the drawing and looked at it carefully, and gave a general figure. More than a month. Tian Luan, who was next to him, was secretly surprised. Even if such a large port was built by the engineering team of the Central Magic Empire, it would definitely not be built in a year. It took more than a month for the Kingdom of Ross to build such a port. That's good. The railways and roads continue to be built, but the construction of other buildings is temporarily stopped, and we will go all out to build this port. 1.5 months later, I will see a port in this former fishing village on the map. Gu Genichi slapped the table and gave the order. Yes, Your Majesty. All engineers immediately stood at attention and saluted. Even engineers, workers, and tongue sources are all militarized. The Navy must first develop. Chapter 92 Testing the Magic Device. 6/7. P.S. Meow, the last chapter was also blocked, what did I write? P.S. However, Chapter 80 has been restored, and you can read it. P.S. The 6th update, and one more. After Gu Yuan issued the order to build the port, all the engineers and construction talents in the country began to mobilize to that small fishing village. The port construction area on the map is completely just a small fishing village with a population of less than 200 at the moment. On this day, Tian Luan saw for the first time that the mobilization power of mortals is so terrifying. I don't know how many trucks pulling construction materials are driving towards the coast continuously. And a new railway route was also put on the charter, and the railway passing through the port began to be built. Countless workers are like soldiers who set foot on the battlefield, and they are pulled to the planning area of the port by trucks. Then under the command of the engineers, the construction machines, cranes, excavators, etc. began to work enthusiastically. Tianluan looked down in midair, and he could see the ants-like workers on the coast working enthusiastically. In the future, he had never seen such enthusiastic workers before. Its movement power and speed are against the sky. In less than 10 days, the basic foundation of the entire huge port area has been finalized, and now it is just a matter of building directly upwards. It seems that it is really not boastful to say that it will be built in more than a month. Naturally, Tianluan couldn't just sit here and watch others build houses for 10 days. She still has to work, which is to help her lover, Gu Yuan, improve the magic flying device. Some of the devices in Gu Yuan's hands are still the ones taken from the orcs. The orcs' magic knowledge is extremely low, and the things they built are rough, and they are simply patchwork. Before that, Gu Yuan just replaced some key parts with fine parts made by the King of Ross, and the performance has been greatly improved. And now, Tian Luan, a 12-star Sage level star mage, helps Gu Yuan improve this device by himself. In about half a month, Tianluan placed 2 simplistic, jet black, fine boxes in front of Gu Yuan, and then looked at Gu Yuan expectantly. What? Gu Yuan looked at her. Magic power supply device, yo. Tian Luan was next to Gu Yuan, speaking in a gluey voice. Magic supply device. But how do I think this thing looks like a 3-dimensional mobile device? You can experiment first, next, yo. As Tianluan said, he put his head in front of Gu Yuan, and wanted to kiss Gu Yuan again. Gu Yuan stretched out his hand to block it, and picked up the 2 rectangular black boxes on the table. 2 pitch black long steel boxes were fastened together with special belts, and there was also a belt tied around the waist. I'm sure it's okay. Gu Yuan took a look at Tian Luan before walking out of the room. No problem. Tian Luan said kindly. Gu Yuan fastened the 2 belts, and 2 black steel boxes were hung on both sides of his legs. Each pitch black steel box has a crimson dragon head on the outer side. Gu Genichi put on this device, and immediately, the corners of the pitch black steel box lit up with a dark red light. Then a shield immediately lit up, covering Gu Yuan's face, and after a while, the shield was hidden in the air again. If there is an attack coming, the shield will automatically appear to resist. This thing still gives me a sense of sight of a three-dimensional mobile device. After putting on the device, Yuan looked left and then again, murmuring. Three-dimensional mobile device. That's what. Tian Luan leaned over and said. No, nothing. After Yuan put it on, he didn't feel much, so he took it off. After all, he is a human being, and he didn't wear this device completely, but hung it lightly on his body to activate the shield function. If it is completely worn, Yuan will not be able to use this thing. After all, it is made for a half-orc girl whose body can accommodate magic power. Yuan is not a half-orc girl. This thing is arranged to be tested immediately, and if the experimental results are satisfactory, then mass production can be arranged. Yuan nodded. He personally feels very good. Yes. An officer came in from the door, picked up the three-dimensional mobile that was put back on the table with both hands. Ah no, it is a magic power supply device. In the test field, a half-orc girl with many stitches on her skin stood on the field, and behind a piece of bulletproof glass next to her were several scientific researchers headed by a doctor. Tanya, wear the device on your body, I taught you how to put it on before. Quote. The sound was broadcast through loudspeakers in this square-like room. Tanya looked at the magic power supply device next to her blankly, then nodded. Most of the half-orc girls rescued by the Kingdom of Ross from the test site of the Orc Empire became cold and ruthless because of the experiments of the Orc Empire. And the Kingdom of Ross took them away from the Orc Empire's testing ground and treated them well. From their point of view, the Kingdom of Ross was their new master. Tanya put on the magic supply device step by step. The belt is tied around the waist, and two pitch-black steel boxes are hung on the sides of the legs, and a steel plate attached to the back is placed behind the two rectangular steel boxes. This back-attached steel plate is tightly attached to Tanya's back, and the magic power is also transmitted from here. The two boxes are attached to the two legs, and there has always been Manuo Jiao exoskeleton-like steel supporting the legs, and then linked to the thick-soled steel boots on the feet. Ready to start the experiment. 3, 2, 1. Start. After the start, a magical power flashed across Tanya's body, and the whole person shot up into the sky in an instant, and then quickly thought of rushing forward. Inspired by the magic power all over her body, Tanya flew in midair, and 5 human-shaped targets suddenly appeared on the side wall. At this time, Tanya suddenly took out the 98K that was attached to the steel box. The whole person made an extremely graceful turn in the air and aimed at those targets at 198K. Boom, crack, boom, crack, shoot quickly, pull the bolt, and shoot. After 5 shots in a row, the 5 humanoid targets on the opposite side were shot in the head instantly and then fell to the ground. Chapter 93, Kageyusha and Shoutooting. 7/7. P.S. The 7th update. Today's update is over, the 91st chapter is inexplicably blocked again, but the 80th chapter can be read. Shield test. A shout sounded, the door of the room was opened, and Yar walked in with an excited face. Use fireball to hit the shield continuously. Okay. Yar faced Tanya who was looking at her blankly, and then her hands surged with magic power. One after another fireballs appeared in Yar's hands, and then waved her hands. All hit Tanya. These are just the most common fireball techniques. Boom, boom. The shield opened suddenly, and after several fireballs hit the shield, the flames expanded in an instant, and then turned into a ball of fireworks and disappeared in the air. The shield is safe and sound. Primary test passed. The doctor who has been observing hastily recorded the data. Soon, more powerful magic was tested. Then there is the ability to test the ability to withstand gunshots. Of course, the ability to withstand gunshots cannot be tested on Tanya. Tanya took off the device, and then activated the shield alone. After the activation, holding 98K in her arms, her 2 short legs started to move. No way, the height is too short, Tanya is holding 98K in her arms. In such a comparison, Daya is as tall as the 98K in his hand. After Tanya walked away, Tanya declined the offer to come in with a soldier to assist with the experiment. In her opinion, there is no need to waste time at all, and there is no need to find another soldier for things that she can do alone. Start. Boom, crack, boom, click. The sound of 98K gunfire kept ringing, and the incomparably crisp sound of pulling the bolt also echoed. After 5 shots in a row, the shield on the opposite side flickered, bright and dark, but finally resisted. At this point Tanya reloads and continues to fire. Boom. Crack. The shield shattered. Very good. The doctor nodded in satisfaction. The guns of World War II used full-power bullets, so the penetrating power was extremely strong, and 98K was one of the best, and its power was greater than other bolt-action rifles. In the case of not wearing it, it is already very good that the shield can withstand 5 shots. If it is worn on the body of a half-orc girl, relying on the half-orc girl's own compatibility with the magic device, it should be able to increase the defense of the shield a lot. Generally speaking, the attacks of magicians lack penetrating power. The protection that can withstand the shield of 5 guns 98K is enough. However, it still needs to be improved. After a series of experiments, some deficiencies were also found. That is, insufficient battery life. A device with full magic power can only be used for 10 minutes, and then it cannot be used when the magic power is exhausted. Still need to recharge. That's right, charging. Strictly speaking, electricity is also magical power in the hands of magicians. After researchers tried charging with electricity, they were pleasantly surprised to find that electricity can actually charge magic devices. This discovery is too surprising, but also makes researchers very puzzled. Magic power, electricity, these two seemingly unrelated energies, actually communicate with each other. Science is about logic, but magic is not logic for you. As long as it can be used, it is a big deal to bring a generator on the battlefield in the future. The orc girls went out to fly for a round, and then came back to recharge. But it's not always the case. Therefore, all the scientific researchers are racking their brains to study how to greatly improve the battery life of the magic power supply device. This is indeed a problem. After the experiment was over, Gui went out of the testing ground, and a cute little girl suddenly appeared in front of her. Sister Tanya. Lena smiled sweetly. Lena. Seeing Lena Yuan's expressionless and usually cold face, a little moved. Sister Tanya, you haven't had a good time in Los Angeles yet, come with me. I'll take you to eat delicious food. Lena stepped forward and took Tanya's hand, and she walked towards the bustling street. And Tanya could only let Lena pull her. So a lively loli and another cold loli started running around the city. Yuan stood at the window and looked at Lena, who was running fast with Tanya. He couldn't help laughing. This little girl. I don't know why, although the two lolis are so short, how come they run so fast with their short legs? At this moment, the voice of the system sounded in Yuan's mind. Successfully integrated most of the population of the Lot Kingdom Kizi Kingdom. Question mark. The population of the kingdom has exceeded 10 million. 0. Seeking flowers. Reward a 5-star lucky draw once. Question mark. Your Majesty, please continue to work hard. At this moment, Yuan heard the prompt from the system. The population of the kingdom has exceeded 10 million. Just a population of tens of millions, no, is not enough. Yuan needs more. Expansion. Only rapid expansion can bring a large number of people and land to Yuan. Yuan must at least have the population of Germany in World War II in his previous life to gain a complete and stable foothold on this continent. The Orc Empire has now separated into 2 kingdoms. Please continue to work hard. After the complete separation, Your Majesty will receive a mysterious reward. Well, I got another chance to draw a lottery. Anyway, I'm fine now. Why don't I draw a prize? Yuan thinks it's okay. The lottery draw is addictive. I can't stop the interest. Start the lottery draw. The lottery is being prepared. 1 draw. The turntable is ready. A virtual turntable appeared in front of Yuan, and Yuan also saw the 5 items in the prize pool. You can only see the prize pool when you draw consecutively. Katyusha multiple self-propelled rocket launcher design drawings. Question mark. L3920mm anti-tank rifle design drawings. Question mark. Design drawings of Type 97 tank. AKM automatic rifle design drawings AK-47 improved version. Question mark. 38 rifle design drawings. The above is the prize pool of the carousel draw. Among them, what Ji Yuan wants most is AKM and Katyusha. Katyusha, as a self-propelled rocket launcher widely used by a big red country in World War II, has extremely amazing firepower coverage, with a range of 7,900 to 8,800 meters. The key is to be able to run after shooting. Once it becomes a scale, the fire coverage can definitely blow up any enemy to the sky. Although the accuracy is much worse, the firepower is enough to make up for this shortcoming. Needless to say, AKM is the most famous rifle on Earth. The real AK-47 was actually produced in the middle of the 20th century. In the 21st century, the AK-47 widely circulated in the world is actually an improved version of AKM, AK-47. As for the Neon Type 97 tanks in the previous life, this tank has a nickname, Shouting. It is the little doubting tanks that often appeared in the anti-neon dramas on the Earth in the previous life. The thickness of the armor is only 25 mm, and a bazooka rocket launcher will be sent to the sky. For this, Ji Yuan is extremely disgusted. Chapter 94 Overthrow the tyranny of Ji Yuan, the territory belongs to Nort 1/7. P.S. The first update. There are 6 more. P.S. Thank you for the rewards, I am all passing brothers. Thank you. As for the last 38 style rifle, that is, the 38 guy, this rifle can be considered famous, but it is extremely tasteless for the army of the Kingdom of Ross, which has been equipped with 98K as a standard weapon. Question mark. Lottery draw begins. The pointer on the turntable in front of Ji Yuan turned rapidly. Soon, the moment slowed down. Katyusha. AKM is fine if it's not Katyusha. Ji Yuan kept focusing on the turntable, muttering in his mouth. Among them, what Ji Yuan wants most is Katyusha and AKM. Katyusha can provide more powerful fire support for Ji Yuan's army, and AKM can be popularized in individual equipment, making the firepower of ordinary infantry more powerful. There are only 590 items on the turntable, and among the 5 items, there is a high probability of choosing the Katyusha rocket launcher or AKM. Soon, the pointer slowly stopped. Ji Yuan's eyes followed suit. Congratulations to Your Majesty for obtaining the L3920M anti-tank rifle. It's not Katyusha or AKM. Ji Yuan was slightly disappointed. But he also breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately he didn't get a Type 97 tank and a Type 38 rifle, otherwise he would have wasted a chance to draw a lottery. The L39 20mm anti-tank gun is an anti-tank gun from World War II in the previous life. It has a caliber of 20 mm, a full gun length of 2,240 mm, and a barrel length of 1,300 mm. It can penetrate 30 mm tank armor within 300 meters. Tank armor is different from ordinary steel, and its strength exceeds ordinary steel. The strength of the magician's shield lies in its own magic power. Generally, the magician's magic penetration is very small, and the spells focus on magic burns, which is also because most of the spells are fire type. It is precisely because the human body is fragile that most of the spells are unsolvable to humans, and only the corresponding magic armguard can resist it. That is, only magicians can deal with magicians. As for the magic shield of the Sky Mage level, because the magic power of the magician has increased dramatically, the strength of the magic shield has also been greatly improved, reaching the level that can easily withstand 98K shooting. Ji Yuan has already received feedback on the test results, plus what he learned from Tian Luan that the magician troupe of the Central Magic Empire also has a similar magic power supply device, so Ji Yuan discovered that this anti-tank rifle came from How Timely. Through testing and comparison, Ji Yuan can confirm that the magician troupe of the Central Magic Empire is different from pure magicians. They are magicians equipped with magic power supply devices. After equipping the magic power supply device, the strength of their shields will rise again, coupled with their own magic shields, reaching the level of double shields. This level of shield defense is enough to withstand 98K bullets many times. Coupled with the powerful mobility of the magician troops that can fly, it is not a small threat to the army of the Kingdom of Ross. With such an anti-tank rifle, Ji Yuan's army can snipe and kill the mage from a single weapon. The enemy has no tanks, so the name needs to be changed. Anti-magic rifle, well, it's a good name. Yuan thought so. After Yuan got the drawing of the L-39 20mm anti-tank rifle, he immediately handed it over to the arsenal for them to develop. And named the first anti-tank rifle that was successfully manufactured, the anti-magician rifle. At the same time, the scientific research team is also studying how to enhance the endurance of the magic power supply device. In this way, the purpose of prolonging the combat time of the half-orc girl mobile unit is achieved. Today, the construction of the port has reached more than half of the level. After all, it is a port where almost all the construction engineers and workers of the Kingdom of Ross are engaged in construction. It doesn't matter how slow you want to be. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Now that half a month has passed, the manufacturer of the Bf-109 fighter jet has only produced a prototype. It is still in the test flight stage. There are only a few half-level pilots in emergency training. Compared with the industrial powers of the former World War II, the industrial capabilities of the Kingdom of Ross are simply not qualified. In the past World War II, the U.S. industry was extremely developed, and it was the strongest in the world. It produced 87,000 tanks, 296,000 aircraft and 53 million tons of ships in 6 years. It claims to produce an aircraft in 5 minutes. Yuan wondered when the Kingdom of Ross would reach the manufacturing capacity of the United States in World War II. In the previous life, Yuan felt emotionally in his heart. On the border of the Kingdom of Ross, a team of less than 10 people sneaked into the Kingdom of Ross. The people in this team are all Nords. And they are basically the heirs of Nord nobles. Since they were young, the Nord nobles were sent to the Magic Academy of the ancient Tong's Alliance Empire to study. After hearing that the Nord Kingdom was destroyed by the Kingdom of Loss, and basically all the nobles were wiped out in the war, or were destroyed after the war. After the execution by the pickets, they have always harbored hatred for the Kingdom of Ross in their hearts. After taking a break from school, they gathered together and established a Nord Restoration Council with less than 10 members. Then he sneaked to the Kingdom of Ross. However, due to poor mobility, it took more than a month to rush from the imperial capital of the Gutongxi Alliance Empire to the border of the Lost Kingdom. His Royal Highness, what is our action plan this time? A former Nord nobleman asked a young man in the team. Ruthord, the illegitimate son of the former Nord King Rag IV, has been studying magic in the ancient Tongth Alliance Empire, just like Prince Ragnar. But because of his grades and aptitude, he is far inferior to Prince Ragnar. It's not taken very seriously either. Our plan is very simple, since the Kingdom of Ross has won the hearts of the people at the bottom of our land. Then we have the same plan of action. We are all sons of nobles, and those untouchables will instinctively fear and obey us. We only need to use money to recruit a group of people, and then promise them that after they return to the country, they will be awarded the title of nobility. 1.9 inches with the first batch of team members, we will be able to gain a foothold, and then we will implement long-term plans. Quote, food needs to be eaten bite by bite, and the road has to be walked step by step. Gentlemen, it may take more than 10 years to achieve the goal of restoring the country. After we are the last batch of nobles in the Nord Kingdom, it is up to us to revive the Nord Kingdom. Down with the tyranny of Yuan. The territory belongs to the Nords. The Nords revive. Rathod looked at the young noble heirs in front of him, and he finally shouted a slogan. Down with the tyranny of Yuan. The territory belongs to the Nords. The Nords revive. Down with the tyranny of Yuan. The territory belongs to the Nords. The Nords revive. A group of young people roared excitedly, and then started to move forward. It didn't take long for them to encounter a Ross border post, which was used to border the border and also took care of recruiting refugees. Chapter 95. The road ahead is very long. 2/7. P.S. The second update. There is still a fifth update. Rathold and Ragnar are different, although they are both the sons of Rag IV, but Rathord is an illegitimate son, while Ragnar is an orthodox prince, and comparing the two, Rathord is too ordinary, is undoubtedly a mediocrity. What are all the people in front doing? Rusad looked at the crowd gathered at the frontier post, and he asked suspiciously. It should be gathering refugees. After all, the Kingdom of Loth and the Kingdom of Kizi were destroyed because of the Orc Empire. The Kingdom of Ross is gathering their people. A young nobleman told what he had heard along the way. They have been on their way for more than a month, so all they know about the kingdom of Ross is what they heard along the way. People of Lot Kingdom and Kizi Kingdom, this is a great opportunity. We can enter the kingdom of Ross among the refugees. Ruthord was overjoyed and said, "That's a good idea, all right, let's dress up right away." After more than a month of long-distance travel, they are now very tired and haggard, and their clothes have been cut with a knife to make them look tattered. A group of less than 10 people pretended to be refugees and walked towards the post. Mixed into the crowd of refugees, Lassold and his party quietly waited for the opportunity. Although they mixed with the refugee group, their arrogance is descendants of nobles and their extraordinary self-cultivation, plus they have also learned magic. Although they are at a half-baked level, these gaps also make them subconsciously keep with those refugees some distance. At this time, a Ross soldier came over, which immediately attracted Rousseau's attention. The soldiers are dressed in gaudy clothes, and they are holding something in their hands, such a short spear. Ruthord snorted softly. No matter what it was in the kingdom of Ross, he didn't like it. What's more, they are army soldiers, who are the main objects of hatred for Lassold and others. This Ross soldier, judging by his appearance, is a Nord. The noble young man next to him spoke in a low voice. HMPH, traitor, disgrace to the Nords. Yes, traitor. Everyone else spoke in low voices. In this case, they only dared to speak in a low voice. But at this time, one of them whispered, "BB, actually, the clothes they wear are quite handsome, the fabrics are so high-end." Then this person was glared at by everyone including Lassold. The man immediately shut up. "Which of you was a craftsman?" The soldier made a routine inquiry. Soon someone raised their hand, and they were taken away from the crowd, after which the soldiers asked about other skilled trades. Doctors, businessmen, even gardeners and tailors all inquired one by one. The number of refugees also gradually decreased, and soon, only Lassold and a group of refugees who used to be poor peasants and serfs remained. "Sir." At this time, an officer came over, and the soldier saluted immediately. "Take them all away. Recently, the kingdom has opened up a new batch of land and established a grain production base. Let them all be assigned to farm." The officer lit a cigarette and said to the soldier. "Yes." The loath soldier saluted. "What? Let us go to farm, and treat us like those pariahs." "We're not pariahs." Hearing this, they immediately lost their composure. Lassoud said to them, "Although it is not reconciled to be regarded as a pariah, gentlemen, we need to be patient now, and this is also a good opportunity. Food base, as long as we put down our bodies to contact those people at the bottom and win people's hearts, we will be able to directly control the food production base later, which will be very beneficial to our future uprisings." Rathord is right. In the future, when an uprising builds an army, food is essential. Someone nodded and agreed. Soon, a military vehicle drove over. This military vehicle is in the form of a truck. The cargo boxes at the back are wrapped in iron sheets, and the rear door is open at the moment. "What is this?" a person said in horror. "Everyone, get in the car." Under the command of the soldiers, the refugees boarded the truck with hesitation and a little fear. "It's over. This group of damned guys, wouldn't they use us to feed this steel monster? The Ross people have such steel monsters, no wonder our army can't beat them. Goddamn Luosi people, they even used people to feed monsters." They all had terrified expressions on their faces, and said in fear in their hearts. "Lathord, what should we do? Are we just being fed to monsters by the Ross people? I don't want to be eaten when I die." A young man was about to cry. They are a group of pampered people who have never seen any scenes. They thought that they were about to face the danger of life and death, and they suddenly panicked in their hearts. Don't panic. Rousseau looked at the huge steel monster, and he felt his legs were a little weak. Such a steel monster, I'm afraid it won't move at all when hit by the fireball technique. He regretted it in his heart, knowing that he would not come. You will face such a danger as soon as you come. Although he was flustered in his heart, he still pretended to be calm, took a deep breath, and kept admonishing himself in his heart. Rathord, you are now the leader of the Nord Restoration Congress. Calm down, there is nothing to be afraid of. Quote. Why don't you get in the car, get in the car. At this time, a Ross soldier looked at them strangely, said. Dare to ask this military master, what are we going to do? Ruthord forced himself to calm down and asked the soldier. Oh, you've never seen a car, so it's normal to be afraid. This is called a truck, a means of transportation, and it will take you to your destination. The soldier patted Lassold on the shoulder and said, Don't worry, you will not be allowed to suffer when you arrive in the kingdom of Ross. When you arrive at the grain production base, if you perform well, you will be assigned with a part of the land. You can also live a prosperous life. In the end, the soldier saluted all the refugees including Lassold, and said, Welcome to the kingdom of Loss, we will be a family from now on. When the refugees heard the soldier's words, they remembered the hardships they had suffered along the way, and the life and death parting with their families. Now they arrived in the kingdom of Ross and received preferential treatment. They couldn't hold back their tears. It was only then that Lassold realized in his heart that this truck was not a magical beast. But, you call this kind of thing made of steel a car? Is the kingdom of Ross so powerful that it is so powerful? These untouchable bundles are transported in such a precious means of transportation as magical creations. Lassold was suddenly alerted, and at the same time he felt that his road to rebellion in the future might be very long and difficult. Chapter 96 That is really a bright future. 3/7. P.S. The third update. There are 4 more updates. P.S. This picture, Tanya. 3 days later. No. 19 Grain Base. After being pulled here, Lassold and others were settled down with other refugees. This grain base is actually some simple assembled houses temporarily built. There are a large number of arable land outside, and there are many farming machines working in the arable land. But for those displaced and homeless refugees, these simple prefabricated houses are simply heavenly treatment. On this day, Rathod gathered with other members of the Nord Zionist Congress. Although there are less than 10 people in the Nord Restoration Council. These goddamn guys make us work all day, it's killing me. A Zionist member complained. Yeah, I'm exhausted, even more tired than studying in the academy. If I had known I would be so tired, I wouldn't have come. I'd rather be in the academy. Several people complained. They were pampered sons of the nobility, and they had never worked. Although they worked for 3 days, they couldn't take it anymore. In fact, compared with farmers in other countries, farmers in the Kingdom of Ross are more relaxed. There are not only the help of various machines, but also a variety of convenient and sophisticated tools. Those refugees who came to the grain base to become farmers were all very happy, and no one complained like Lassold and others. Because even farming in the Kingdom of Ross is much easier than before, and they still get paid, and they will be given their own land after they do a good job. Among the entire grain base, only Lassold and his group were incompatible. Everyone, I can't bear this bit of suffering. How can I revive Nord? Lassold frowned, he shouted loudly. After Lassold's utterance, the others did not dare to speak. Tell me about the gains of the past few days. Rathod looked at the others and said. Reward. I found that the food in the canteen of the Lost Kingdom is quite delicious, even better than the food I ate in the capital of Gutongsi. That's right. There is a market nearby, and the barbecue in it tastes so good, it's simply the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. In the past 2 days, I discovered something called mahjong tiles, which is very fun. When it came to the harvest, they talked about it in a hurry. What he heard was the blue veins ajeb on Lassold's forehead. He couldn't bear it any longer, and roared angrily, I'm talking about harvest. Are you harvest? Idiots and idiots. Everyone looked at Lassold in fear, and immediately fell silent. After a while, a man stammered and said, I met a man while playing mahjong these 2 days, he is also from Nord, I think he is good, I can develop him. That's right. Most of the anger in Lassold's heart disappeared, which is right. He hurriedly said, is he reliable? I don't know if it's reliable or not, but these 2 days I've been hearing him talk about how he was when he was an aristocrat. I think he can be developed. The member thought for a while and said, I used to be an aristocrat, very good. Lassold clapped his hands and said happily, I used to be nobles. Only nobles can work together with them. There are only 9 people in the Nord Restoration Council. It's time to add the first person. You invite him over tomorrow. Ruthord said happily. What? Rebellion? The middle-aged man suddenly screamed. Hush, keep your voice down. Lassoed was startled, and he quickly grabbed the middle-aged man. Yes, we are all Nords. The Nord kingdom was brutally wiped out by the Ross people. As the only remaining Nord nobles, we should revive the Nords. Ruthord said to him. The middle-aged man feels a little tricky, damn it, he has encountered a traitor. God damn it, he's just a farmer, and he says he's an aristocrat, that's bragging after drinking. Although his ancestors did have nobles, it was hundreds of years ago, and now his family has been farmers for several generations. But the middle-aged man didn't dare to say that he was bragging when he said that he was a nobleman, and there were 9 people in front of him. If he revealed his truth, he might die on the spot. The middle-aged man rolled his eyes. He just remembered the announcement from the kingdom not long ago, yes. The middle-aged man made a serious expression and said, reviving Nord is the duty of every Nord. To be honest, I am actually a member of an organization. The members of our organization are all Nord people, and they are all working hard to revive Nord. Our organization is led by a little noble like me, but now that you are here, I hope you can lead us, Prince Rathord. The middle-aged man was talking nonsense. As soon as these words were spoken, Lassoed and the others fell into ecstasy. Fellow people, where is your organization? Ruthord said immediately. It's the former capital of Nord, Tino City, I'll take you there tomorrow. The middle-aged man said. Very good. It's getting late, rest early, we will be comrades in the future. Lassoed patted the middle-aged man's shoulder excitedly. Okay, Prince Rathord, then I will take my leave. Farewell. The middle-aged man exited the room, heaving a sigh of relief. Glancing behind him contemptuously, he thought in his heart, I'll rebel with you when I'm bored with life. Now he has a colorful life here. Compared with the farmers in the past, it is very easy to work here with the help of machines, and the food is delicious, and he is paid every month. After finishing the work, he can play cards. After that, I still have my own land. Only when you are tired of life will you rebel with them. The middle-aged man pondered again. Take them to the police station in Tino City to report them on the spot tomorrow. Recently, the country has issued a notice that a spy can get 1,000 gold coins, so this group of rebels will get at least 10,000 gold coins. Bar. When he thought that at least 10,000 gold coins would be credited, he felt elated. Humming a ditty all the way back to his room. The next day, the middle-aged man took Lassoed and other 9 noble children to Tino City. Along the way, there are thriving scenes everywhere, which amazed Lassoed and others, and made them even more jealous. These used to be the land of the Nord Kingdom, Tino City, the capital of Nord. If it weren't for the Kingdom of Ross, King Nord would definitely give them a large piece of land after they return home after studying. It's all the damned Kingdom of Loath. Ruthord thought with hatred in his heart, but then he became happy again and fell into the fantasy of the future. He seems to have seen the future Kingdom of Loath being overthrown by the Nord army he led, and he was supported by everyone and crowned king. That's a bright future. Ruthord couldn't help but say such a sentence. Chapter 97, Saints Fall. 4/7. P.S. Chapter 4, there are 3 more updates today. Boom. The iron door of the prison cell was closed, and the 9 members of Lassoed and his party were put into the residence cell with ashes on their faces. Please bring your personal certificate to us to receive the bonus in 1 week, and we will issue you a medal, which will be received together with your bonus. After registering, a kingdom policeman wearing a black police uniform spoke to the middle-aged man with a smile on his face. Thanks, the middle-aged man said with an excited face. He really didn't expect that not only would he get money, but he would also be awarded medals. The middle-aged man walked on the street after leaving the police station. He looked at the rising sun in the sky and exclaimed, "Ah! What a bright future! Lathord, why bother? The current Ross kingdom is not what it used to be, and it's not something you mere people can contend with." The kingdom policeman walked slowly to the front of the residence cell, said, "You are Green Alcott." Rathod looked at him in astonishment, then his eyes widened suddenly. Some people may have forgotten who he is. He was the only noble who was pardoned when Yuan tried the nobles after capturing the Nord Kingdom and all other nobles were shot. Viscount Green Alcott. Although he still has the title of Viscount, it is a false title. Yuan has long ago abolished all the privileges of nobility, and only retained the false title as an honorary title. And after being recommended by most of the civilians in Tino City, he became a royal policeman gloriously. Has been contributing to the security of Tino City. The current Ross Kingdom is simply the dream kingdom of all mortals on the continent, but you want to destroy it and turn this extremely progressive kingdom of Ross into a backward and barbaric feudal kingdom. Green stared at Russold, and his tone was very firm. I will never allow this kind of thing. 9 people including Russold were imprisoned. Hey, it's very interesting. Yuan looked at the report file in his hand. The conspiracy of 9 people is interesting. Don't put him in prison, choose a date and shoot him directly. With a casual judgment, the future of the 9 people including Lassold was judged. Yuan has always been very merciless to those who want to overthrow his foundation. He cut the weeds without eradicating the roots. So, just like that, the largest rebel organization in Loth, founded by the illegitimate son of the former Nord king, the Nord Reconciliation Council was destroyed under the report of a farmer brother. Dear, love, of. A charming voice sounded, Yuan's body trembled, and he saw Tian Luan walking towards him. The country is beautiful and heavenly, glamorous and unparalleled. You still want to. During the few days Tian Luan was here, Yuan only felt that his body was going to be hollowed out. Tian Luan might want to make up for the loneliness of 800 years in her life on Yuan. This. No matter how strong a person is, it can't bear it. Can't stand it at all. No, I came to say goodbye to you. Tian Luan said to Yuan. Farewell. Yuan wondered, are you going back? Well, it's not very good. Tian Luan nodded, with a rare serious expression on his beautiful and unparalleled face. I just received a super long-distance message transmission launched by 5-star mages, and it was sent to all the star saints in the Central Magic Empire. What's the situation? Yuan was very curious. The group text messages sent by the 5-star mages must be a big deal. They have summoned all the star saints of the Empire, because... Tianluan closed his eyes and took a deep breath, and finally opened his eyes. A gate to another world suddenly appeared in the central region, and it is still in the process of brewing, but it will open in a week at the slowest. Gate to another world. Yuan's eyes widened. Isn't the gate of another world the portal of the devil that you told me before? Not only Tianluan, even Xiyuan felt a sense of crisis this time. Demons from other worlds can be feared by magicians all over the continent, and they must be a very difficult opponent. Well, I just received a message from them, but this is not instant, but has a different time delay according to the distance. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. According to the distance between the Kingdom of Ross and Central Domain, there is a 3-day delay in communication. As she said that, Tian Luan suddenly opened her beautiful eyes wide. What's wrong? Yuan looked at her. Just now, I received another message. With the voluntary consent of 3 reclusive old star saints, they jointly launched a star curse on the brewing place of the gate of the alien world. The gate to another world has been blown up. And those 3 old star saints who lived in seclusion have fallen. 0. Tian Luan closed his eyes in a little pain, his body trembled slightly, and he covered his forehead with his hands. Among the 3 reclusive old star saints, one was her teacher. An old sorcerer who is over 4,000 years old. If there was anyone who was very important to her after her mother passed away and before she met Yuan, it would be this name. He is a very kind old man, and one of the few magicians who has no prejudice against mortals. But just 3 days ago, he actively responded to the call of the Central Magic Empire, threw himself into the gate of another world, activated the star curse, and died together with the other 2 star saints. More than 30 miles away from Fangyuan were all razed to the ground, naturally including the gate to another world. Yuan. Tian Luan suddenly stepped forward and grabbed Yuan's hands. 0. I know how powerful the weapons held by the Kingdom of Ross are, and they may be able to shake the entire continent. But the devil will come in the end. I don't know if the Empire can resist it. Now my teacher and 2 other saints have cast the forbidden spell to die. Perhaps, at some point in the future, even I will have to cast the forbidden spell. Die with the devil, I have long been prepared in my heart, but I beg you, only you. Tian Luan opened his eyes, there were ripples in his beautiful eyes, and 2 lines of tears fell down. Don't die. Crystal tears dripped down, she was in pain, but very affectionate, her vermilion lips parted lightly. Because now you are the only important person in this world to me. Or maybe only you are the hope of this continent. Just how much pain was it that made this star saint who had experienced 800 years of loneliness and a strong heart shed tears like a little girl? Yuan didn't know, but Gu Dao had one thing. #BT. Looking at Tian Luan, who was crying and suffering in extreme pain, Gu Genichi hugged Tian Luan into his arms, pressed close to Tian Luan's earlobe, and said, there is one in this world who can kill me. Gu Yuan doesn't exist at all. Tian Luan, it's not just me, you can't die either, I won't allow you to die, no matter if it's a magician, a demon, or even a god. If you want me, or the people around me, I will kill him completely. Total, sent to hell. If the enemy comes from hell, then I will bring hell together. Total destruction. Chapter 98 Gu Yuan proclaims Emperor. 5/7. P.S. The 5th update, there are 2 more. P.S. Fellow readers, Chapter 91 has been released, you can read it. Star Saint. In the distant past, the level of Star Saints was not called Star Saints, but simply called Star Masters. The reason why the title of Saint appears is because of demons from other worlds. Almost 10,000 years ago, that era was called the Ancient Times. The Star Mage is different from the Sky Mage. The Star Mage has mastered an extremely powerful forbidden spell, the Star Curse. Once activated, it will completely destroy everything in the surrounding area, including the Star Mage himself, just like stars falling from the sky. And the Star Mages have practiced for hundreds of thousands of years, and have gone through a long time, life and death. The longer you live, 723, the more you cherish your life. This sentence can be greatly reflected in the Stars Mages. After the first gate to another world appeared, the entire continent could not resist the attack of demons. When the entire continent was at stake, 10 Star Mages gave up their own life and death, and volunteered to sacrifice their lives for the mankind of the entire continent. 10 Star Mages brazenly penetrated into the main gate of another world and launched the Star Curse. That is the power of destroying heaven and earth, which makes everyone fearful. Finally, the demon's main gate was blown up. Losing the main gate, the rest of the gates to other worlds will automatically close, and the demons will gradually be wiped out by humans after losing their reinforcements. Although the demon's main gate was blown up, there are still other gates left in the mainland. Moreover, there have been new gates to other worlds appearing continuously in the past 10,000 years. The heart of alien demons invading Roarland seems to never be extinguished. Before the appearance of demons, there were no more than 5 recorded records of Star Saints casting forbidden spells in the history of the entire continent. They all lost the belief in being alive, and carried out an attack on the enemy who had a blood feud. And after the appearance of the demon, the Star Saints have used more than 200 forbidden star spells in the past 10,000 years. Saint. Only with the belief in giving up your life for the entire continent at any time in your heart, and the belief in continuing the existence of all human beings, can such a Star Master be called the Saturn Saint. After the appearance of the devil, the lives of the saints of the stars are undoubtedly tragic. They have cultivated for hundreds of years, thousands of years, experienced many hardships, and finally reached the peak of their hard pursuit, but their lives are just a flash in the pan in the end. In front of the huge gate to another world, the forbidden spell erupting from their seemingly insignificant bodies was the most dazzling flash in their lives. It is also the last flash of life. Even the scaled sage, who hates mortals and thinks mortals are inferior existences, is always ready to die for the whole continent. Even he has to admit that if there are no mortals in this world, it will no longer be colorful. Perhaps his death was not for mortals, but for the magic empire, but this is also a lofty belief. Tianluan left the kingdom of Ross and returned to the magic empire. Among the 3 Star Saints who fell, one was her teacher. As the only apprentice of the old Star Saint, she had to go back to attend the grand funeral. Lost Kingdom, Rose City. From the top of the 100-meter-tall building in the center of the city, Gu Yuan looked at the panoramic view of Ross City. Although the current Ross City is extremely special and great among the mortal cities of this era. But for Ji Yuan, who came from the earth and has seen the real metropolises on the earth, it is still too small. His city of Ji Yuan shall be magnificent, huge. It still needs to be expanded, and the kingdom of Ross also needs to be expanded. Only by expansion can the strength of the Ross kingdom's army grow rapidly. Only by expanding and increasing your strength can you protect yourself and everyone around you. Demons will invade, not now. There is a magic empire that is delaying time. It may be a year later, or it may be 2 years later, but the kingdom of Ross will use this time to become a real world that everyone is afraid of. Giant. Ji Yuan said to Stevens, who was standing next to him, "Stevens, go get ready, it's time to change the kingdom of Ross into an empire." On the mainland of Laurelland, the kingdom and the empire are blatantly two classes. The kingdom is weak, but the empire is stronger, and only Qingdatu can be called an empire. This notion is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people in mainland Laurelland. Today's Ross kingdom defeated the Beastman Empire and split the Beastman Empire into 7 parts. If it still calls itself a kingdom, it will only make the so-called emperors of other human countries look down on them from their hearts. Even if your strength is strong, the emperor and the king are like two different classes in this continent with distinct classes. Undoubtedly, the emperor is the highest, and the king is second. If Ji Yuan wants to do it, he must be the highest. The kingdom's external influence is not great, only the empire, becoming the emperor's ruling power, can be strengthened, and it will also attract the attention of the enemy. Yes, King, no, Your Majesty the Emperor. There was extreme excitement in Stevens' eyes. He has served the Ji Yuan family all his life, and he has served in the court of the Kingdom of Loss since Ji Yuan's father. He didn't expect that in his lifetime, he could actually see the scene where the Kingdom of Ross became the Empire of Ross. He, the king whom Stevens served, would also become emperor. This is undoubtedly inspiring. After the news that Ji Yuan was about to proclaim himself emperor came out, the whole kingdom of Ross rejoiced. Especially in the army. Soldiers in the army have personality worship for Ji Yuan, especially the soldiers in the early 0.5 period, their loyalty to Ji Yuan has almost reached the peak. Because they watched with their own eyes that the kingdom of Ross went from resisting the Nord kingdom step by step, to destroying Nord, and then defeating the Orc Empire, and annexing Loth and Kezi. In this short period of half a year, the kingdom of Ross developed rapidly, stepping directly from a feudal society to a modern society. Such rapid progress was brought about by Ji Yuan. Therefore, the first batch of citizens, the soldiers, had an extremely strong loyalty and personality worship to Ji Yuan. When they knew that Ji Yuan had finally given up the title of king, became emperor, and changed the kingdom of Ross to an empire, they almost celebrated with the whole army. Although Ji Yuan hasn't really proclaimed himself emperor yet, there are soldiers shouting almost everywhere in the army, "Long live Your Majesty the Emperor." Chapter 99, The Weasel Greeting the Chicken. 6/7. P.S. The 6th update, and one more update. P.S. Attached picture, still Tanya. How long will it take for the Lowe's building in the center of the city to be completed? Ji Yuan looked at Stevens beside him. It will take about 10 days. According to the plan, the construction has been completed at this moment, but Your Majesty dispatched 80% of the engineers and workers to build the port, so the completion of the building has been postponed to 10 days later. Stevens thought for a moment and answered. Being a housekeeper is not an easy task. You have to memorize all kinds of big and small things by heart, and you can blurt out anytime Your Majesty needs it. To be able to see His Majesty the King change to His Majesty the Emperor in his lifetime is worthwhile in his life. Stevens sighed in his heart. Okay, get ready, then half a month later, I will ascend the throne and proclaim the Emperor. I will issue invitations during this period, and it would be best if the kings of neighboring countries can come. The corners of Ji Yuan's mouth curled up slightly. The meaning of Ji Yuan's words is self-evident. Now the territory of the Kingdom of Loss has bordered on the ancient Tongxi Alliance Empire. The surrounding area is several member states of the ancient Tongxi Alliance Empire. There is also a country under the Duke of the Golden Lion. If Ji Yuan wants to expand, he can only expand in this direction. The Golden Lion Duke is preparing for a big move, and Ji Yuan knows this news. Only a blind person would not be able to see such a huge troop deployment. And when Yuan proclaimed himself emperor, this was also an opportunity to demonstrate his force to other countries. Yuan prepares for a military parade. Army soldiers, trucks, artillery and other weapons pulled up on the stage and turned around in front of the kings of various countries. Of course, the Bf-109 fighter plane that has been initially manufactured did not show up. It's another matter, and there's no need to hide it. So on this day, Yuan issued an invitation letter. Invite the kings of the surrounding countries to watch the ceremony. Yuan proclaimed himself emperor. Generally speaking, the king of the Laurelland continent is presided over by the people of the church, and the people of the church will wear the crown representing the emperor on the king. However, there are basically no churches in the kingdom of Ross. Because when the former Nord kingdom invaded the kingdom of Ross, the people of the church had already evacuated the kingdom of Ross because of the war. After that, Yuan never allowed them to enter the kingdom of Ross to preach. Yuan doesn't believe in God, so he proclaims himself emperor, and he asserts it himself. Do not sacrifice to heaven, do not worship God. Yuan believes in only himself, his own country, and his own army. When Yuan's invitation letter spread out, the first to be notified was the 7 kingdoms of the Beastmen. As Yuan's vassals, they must be present. Then there are the member states of the ancient alliance around the source. The matter of destroying the Orc Empire, causing the Orc Empire to split and surrender, basically spread throughout the Gutongsi Alliance Empire during this period. It's best that their king is here, so that they can see the strength of the kingdom of Ross, such as Bailai. That is to not give Yuan face, and may be the first target of attack and expansion, even if it is accompanied by war. The land, population, and the western regions are so big. If the kingdom of Ross becomes big, it must harm the power of other countries. There is no second way to go. The Duke of Golden Lion looked at a letter handed in by his subordinates, frowned. Yuan, the king of the kingdom of Loss, is going to proclaim himself emperor. According to the rules of the mainland, the church presides over the kings proclaiming himself emperor, right? The Duke of Golden Lion rubbed his chin and pondered. However, when the kingdom of Ross was in crisis, all members of the church withdrew from the kingdom of Ross, and King Yuan never allowed them to enter the kingdom of Ross again. The man below said, "Interesting, since he proclaims himself emperor, I will also give him a gift, and when he receives the gift, he may treat us lightly, and then we will continue to mobilize our troops." The Duke of Golden Lion sneered. After the General King receives a completely well-intentioned gift from a similar hostile figure, he will think that this is a sign that the other party wants to reconcile, thus taking it lightly. And the Duke of Golden Lion intends to do this, really preparing a gift for Tong Yuan. And it has to be a big gift. Only in this way can Yuan think that he is ready to make friends with him, so that he can relax his vigilance. The corner of the Duke of Golden Lion's mouth, hidden under the golden beard, turned up. In the Gutongsi Alliance Empire, a team is advancing. A young man sat in the carriage and casually opened the information he had just collected from his subordinates. The Duke of Golden Lion is deploying troops on a large scale, and he doesn't know who the opponent is, and the meaning is unknown. King Yuan of the Kingdom of Ross will be proclaimed emperor in the near future, but he doesn't seem to intend to let the church preside over it. A smile appeared on the corner of the young man's mouth. He smiled lightly. This is a blatant confrontation with the traditional system, my brother-in-law. When the young man smiled, he turned his head slightly to look at the scenery along the way. At this time, he could clearly see the pointed ears hidden under his golden hair. Elf. Chapter 100 The Detained Elves. 7/7. P.S. Chapter 7. Today's update is over. P.S. It's still Tanya's picture, whoops, I'm exhausted. The whole team is elves. The reason why they came from Jinjing City in Central Region was naturally because of Angelina. Jinjing City is considered a big city among the elves, with a population of nearly 1 million, which is amazing. You must know that the birth of elves is generally very difficult. And this elf called Yuan brother-in-law because he is Angelina's younger brother. That's right, Angelina, who looks petite and still a teenager, has a brother who looks older than her. This may be unreasonable among humans, but among elves, it is perfectly normal. Many elves do not develop in their teenage years, and their lives will remain this way for hundreds of years. Angelina was like this. When she was 16 years old, her body stopped developing, and she still looked 16 years old after decades. And Angelina's younger brother is 10 years younger than Angelina, but he looks like a young man in his 20s. That's why Angelina has a younger brother who looks older than her. After Angelina arrived in Rose City, she often wrote letters to Jin Jingchung's home, and her feelings and thoughts for Ji Yuan were basically written into the letters. As Angelina's younger brother, Angelina was naturally very curious about Ji Yuan described in the letter. It is said that he is very young, and more handsome than the average elf youth. At the same time he is great. Angel Zell also believed in his heart that his sister is so good that he can definitely be with Ji Yuan, so he began to call Ji Yuan brother-in-law. How long will it take before we get to Rose City? Angelzel put down the information in his hand and asked outside the carriage. Your Highness, we will be able to enter the territory of the Kingdom of Ross in about 3 days. There was a sound from outside. Well, it won't be the Kingdom of Ross anymore, it will be the Empire of Ross. The corner of Angelzel's mouth curled up, and there was a smile on his handsome face. I didn't expect my brother-in-law to be the emperor. There is an emperor's brother-in-law, which seems to be very good. Angelzel thought so. After advancing for about 3 days, the convoy finally arrived at the territory of the Kingdom of Loss. As a matter of course, they encountered outposts all over the border of Loth. Stop, who? A soldier stopped them. We are the elves of Jinjing City, and we are here to attend the enthronement ceremony of the brother-in-law of His Highness the Prince. Said an elf. He was talking in support of Angelzel's brother-in-law all day long, unconsciously, that's what he said. Brother-in-law's coronation ceremony. What the hell? The Ross soldier listened suspiciously. Oh, my brother-in-law is Ji Yuan. Angel Zell stepped out of the carriage and smiled. Ji bold. He even called His Majesty by his name. Catch me. I've never heard that His Majesty has a queen, how dare you pretend to be a relative of the emperor? Hearing the words, the soldier suddenly flew into a rage, and he yelled loudly. Immediately, the surrounding Lost soldiers surrounded them and loaded the 198K. Why? Angelzel was dumbfounded. Why should he be arrested? He was right. Your Majesty, there is one thing I need to confirm with you. Ji Yuan was trying on a dress to confirm what kind of dress he would wear on the day of his enthronement, when Stevens walked in. Well, let's talk. Next to Ji Yuan, Lena was extending her little hand to roll up Ji Yuan's sleeves. Our patrolling soldiers caught a group of elves at the border. It is said that the young man at the head pretended to be your younger brother and said you were his brother-in-law. Stevens said. What? Ji Yuan was stunned. What the hell, when did he become an elf's brother-in-law? That elf said his name was Angelzel. Angazel. Angelina's family. Ji Genichi understood instantly. Yes, but Secretary Angelina has gone to fetch someone. Among the detention rooms in Tino City, there are more than 20 elves living here. More than 20 elves stayed in the cells of the detention room like this. At this moment, Angelina, who was dressed in an exquisite military uniform, combed double ponytails Wang Hao, and wore a black military cap with a large brim one size larger, ran in with her head bowed. After Angelina heard about this, she ran all the way here. Along the way, Angelina's face didn't know whether it was anger or something, but it was red anyway. Second Lieutenant Angelina, His Majesty has already informed me about this matter, you can take her away. An officer saluted Angelina and said. After leading a group of more than 20 elves out, Angelzel immediately shouted happily, Sister. You're here to pick me up. I don't have a younger brother like you. What a shame. Son. Angelina's face turned red with anger. She raised her foot in black military boots and kicked Angelina directly. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audio Wave to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.